We are just over 24 hours away from the Royal Rumble, ladies and gentlemen. So happy Royal Rumble Eve is what I'm going to say to you. I hope you're all keeping well. It is a live Q&A today, and we're going to do something a little bit fun and a little bit special. What I'm going to do, I've not got one, I've not got two, I've not got three. I've got four guests that will be joining me here today. We're going to rotate them as well. So how we're going to do this, we have our first guest coming on in a couple of seconds' time, and then every 30 minutes, a new guest will join the stream. But of course, as it's a Royal Rumble match, we will perhaps get some eliminations as well. So the question is, who is going to be the SCW Royal Rumble winner for 2023? It's a lot of fun and games. So get your questions in nice and early. Feel free to get involved. Let us know your Rumble predictions, like you do retro questions from Rumbles this year. Keep it fresh, keep it exciting, keep it fun. But without further ado, let's get the first guest at the ready. And of course, we have to do that with our very own countdown. It is none other than the one, the only Mr. Spoiler Warning himself, Tom COLOHUE. Tom, how are you doing?
Doing very well. That was a very fancy intro. A bit la-di-da. I don't know if I can compete on my stuff anymore. I just have to bow down to a master with the countdown right here. Countdown. I like that.
You're being far too kind already there, Tom, but it's great to have you a part of this. On the Royal Rumble, then, what's your excitement levels at this point? Are you looking forward to the show tomorrow night?
I am, and this is sort of confusing an experience to be looking forward to a Royal Rumble after the last one was probably the worst that I've personally ever seen, but it's the Royal Rumble. It's one of those events that you just can't ignore it. There's too much good. There's too many opportunities. It's a kingmaker show, so I can't say I'm too excited. Vince McMahon and his all antics have drawn a lot of attention away, but it's a Royal Rumble. It's the best pay-per-view of the year. I can't not be excited.
Absolutely. The road to WrestleMania really does start here. And I mean, Tom, if you don't mind, as we're waiting for a couple of questions to come flying in to get us kicked off, we will actually, though, quickly just say hello to Noob and Co, who's in the chat as well. And we've got Tina's Time as well. It says, what's up, Tom? I love the countdown. Our very own Tom even enters the chat as well there. I like that there. And Tina did say he's doing his live stream of predictions right now, but he can't wait to watch the show back. Thank you, Tino. And he was a part of the Royal Rumble predictions that were done yesterday. But Tom, as we say, getting things ready, do you mind if we get some of your Royal Rumble predictions heading into tomorrow night?
Absolutely. Jump right in.
Absolutely. Well, let's start things off then quickly and see. I think probably an obvious one, but Roman Reigns versus Kevin Owens. What are your feelings with this one?
I think I have the same feelings that everyone else does. There has been no point at which Roman Reigns has been at threat since winning the Universal Championship many years ago, many moons ago. I know there's been a lot of talk about, oh, maybe Drew McIntyre was the guy. He wasn't. At no point did I ever feel Roman was actually under threat. And the fact that this is the third time that Kevin Owens and Roman Reigns have taken each other on in a Royal Rumble pay-per-view, the first time it's actually been a match you can get disqualified in, which is new and unique for the two of them. I just don't see it. This is another step in the Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens versus the Usos storyline. Sadly, I don't necessarily think it'll be a Sami Zayn storyline, but still, it's been a great Sami Zayn storyline while it lasted. Roman Reigns for me, no question.
Absolutely, yeah. For me, as when I did my predictions yesterday, I went exactly the same. You can't bet against Roman. This goes to WrestleMania. He is the head of the table after all, and of course, stuck on that island of relevancy. And I think you're right there with the Sami and KO story with the Usos as well. Match 2 then, Bray Wyatt, LA Knight, the Mountain Dew pitch black match. What's your thoughts and feelings? What is a pitch black match? Have you got any ideas?
I have some ideas. When he played The Fiend, he always played with lighting. When he was Bray Wyatt, the Eater of Worlds, the lights were down, the fireflies were out. Playing with lighting is Bray Wyatt taking to water. It is just in him to do so. It's a way to make sure people are paying attention. They're not recording on their phones. They're not watching through a screen or through a monitor. They are focused on what's happening in the ring. It wasn't very popular with the red light. It was quite popular with the fireflies. I definitely have to give him that one. But my concern is that this will be a couple of spotlights. Maybe a fridge falls on LA Knight as they did way back when with the House of Horrors match. I kind of want the return of the fridge personally, because for me, the Bray Wyatt storyline, it's not been great. It's been slow and it's been a bit dull. Surely they're not going to cut the legs out from under him by having LA Knight beat him. LA Knight will be fine. He'll recover. This is a great spot for him to be in. You can't bet against Bray Wyatt here.
No, I completely agree. And I do feel LA Knight, though, has held his own, actually sharing the ring with the likes of Bray Wyatt. Even The Undertaker this past week on Raw, it didn't feel out of place for me.
I completely agree with that. Bray Wyatt's a larger than life character, and the fact that he does connect so well with the audience means that someone like The Undertaker doesn't feel that distant. That said, The Undertaker that we got was not exactly the dead man, so there may be a little bit of Bray Wyatt coming up to his level and a little bit of Undertaker coming down to Bray's.
Absolutely, indeed. There, I just say with thanks for everyone that's watching so far. Feel free in a Q&A format to throw your questions in as well. We're getting to them within the next couple of minutes' time, so it's a good opportunity to get them in. We've got Tom COLOHUE, like I say, for the next 25 minutes or so. So make sure to utilize, find out what he's thinking going into the Royal Rumble this Saturday evening. Also, perhaps maybe Retro Rumbles as well. SmackDown tonight. We've got lots of questions that we could easily go through. I've got plenty myself if no one else will get involved. Bianca Belair versus Alexa Bliss, the Raw Women's Championship. Where's your head heading at this point?
I'm a little disappointed that we have 3 matches happening for SmackDown. Sorry, 3 matches happening for the Royal Rumble outside of Royal Rumbles, and all of them seem, at least on the outside, to be really obvious winners. This is no exception. Yes, Alexa Bliss is going through a character change. Yes, we are seeing the Uncle Howdy of it all, but it doesn't really add much to the actual threat level to me. Alexa Bliss's character change has just started. There's going to be a lot more beats and a lot more steps. After all, did she not go through therapy and it took forever to get to the point? Now we're basically unraveling everything we did for the last year. Bianca Belair is a cut above. She's got that Roman Reigns, John Cena push behind her. She feels like a star. She is a star. And even though Alexa Bliss has that star power, it's not the world champion position where she seems to do her best work. So no question in my mind, Bianca Belair retains.
There we go, Bianca Belair retaining. We are going to just take a break from those predictions just for a couple of seconds because Tino has a big question for us, as we spoke about Bray a couple of minutes ago. Did we get a chance to listen to the interview that was with Bray this morning in Tino's time afternoon hours? I'm not aware of an interview that took place today. Are you aware, Tom, of what interview took place today?
I am indeed. There's a pretty big sort of in character, sort of out of character interview with Bray Wyatt that went live today. I believe it was a Ryan Satin interview. Correct me if I'm wrong there. But it's a big interview. It's very interesting, but also it's kayfabe, which makes it very, very difficult to trust most of what is said in it. For example, I've already had to reach out and ask questions about The Fiend because Bray Wyatt says The Fiend is dead. The Fiend will not be returning. Then why did we see The Fiend at Extreme Rules? Many, many questions I have. It's very difficult with Bray Wyatt to get a straight answer about anything. He does not go out of character outside of one interview with Sam Roberts inside an elimination chamber where he won the WWE Championship shortly afterwards. That's well worth checking out as well to learn a lot about the man himself. You do not get a lot more than that.
Interesting stuff indeed there. And I will ask you, do you think, because Bray seems to be going through this we seem to be going back to the start. We saw a bit of the Eater of Wells at the beginning of this bring back of this reincarnation of the new Bray Wyatt. We've seen now the Firefly Funhouse. Is there a chance that we could get a Fiend return at some point in this reincarnation of Bray on the road to WrestleMania?
There absolutely is, and I find it likely we're going to see a Fiend, but not the Fiend. Now, when we first had, I've made reference to Alexa Bliss and the therapy, you had to unravel everything that she was in order to show who she was going to become. Extremely similar situation now when it comes to Bray Wyatt. You had to unravel everything that he was to basically move forwards. You have to get rid of the excess baggage, everything that came before. The difficulty is Bray Wyatt has never finished a story. He's always been redirected, moved, met someone new, been fired before he could actually finish telling whatever story it is he wants to tell. I have no doubt he wants to go back to it. With LA Knight, reference has been made to Little Pig. This is a reference to Huskus, the character of the Wyatt Six. Yeah. It's Uncle Howdy saying it, which suggested it might be the Howdy Six, not the Wyatt Six. The Fiend may be someone else behind the mask.
I like all the sounds. This actually sounds quite exciting of a direction. I've been a bit lackluster with the Bray stuff. This here for me, actually, I feel a bit more invested just hearing that as a possibility of ideas. So let's see how it does play out there. But Tom, thank you for your insight. That and Tino says it was on Out of Character with Ryan Satin, and apparently it was definitely a good listen. And Obama Chatter is in the house. Hope you're doing well, Obama. Dave, of course, did his Royal Rumble predictions yesterday on his channel. Fantastic, as always, with his guests. He said the Errol Hawani interview with Sami Zayn is amazing. Feels like I need to check out some more interviews. I'm not seeing enough content recently, it feels. But it does say... It has been. SCW working full-time this week. I'm doing my best to get back in the game for you there. Took a little bit of a break for a while, but yeah, now it's Royal Rumble season. It's time to get serious. We're on that road to WrestleMania. And Noob and Co has got a fantastic question in line for us now. Do you think Asuka winning the first Women's Royal Rumble was the right choice, only to lose to Charlotte Flair, which I believe was at WrestleMania 34?
It was, if you consider where they were going, not where they ended up. The plan at that point was to move directly towards Charlotte Flair versus Ronda Rousey in the first ever women's WrestleMania main event. That was the plan. That was the intention. Ronda Rousey was going to be the face, Charlotte Flair the heel. So they needed to make sure Charlotte Flair had a year-long championship reign. They wanted to build her so high, she basically became Roman Reigns as he is now. Ronda Rousey, conquering hero, turns up, wins the championship, wrestles for 2 more years. Many, many things changed this plan as it went. Asuka was sort of thrown by the wayside, that is true, but you can't have an undefeated streak for very long in the main roster. Rusev, for example, lasted about a year. They build you for so long, then you go back into general population and they do the best they can with you. It's WWE booking, it's Vince McMahon booking. Of course, there's a few things that went wrong, a few things that went right, as it were. The primary thing, Becky Lynch. The man character, well before the punch heard around the world, specifically at SummerSlam, when she defeated didn't defeat Charlotte Flair, when Charlotte Flair regained the championship after taking some time off, after being forced to vacate the championship due to needing that time off. It was the feud that was supposed to set Charlotte Flair on fire. It did not do so. Then the plan for WrestleMania 35 was Becky Lynch as a heel versus Asuka. Asuka would defeat her and get back on track to where she was headed as a face. That was the plan. Ronda Rousey was going to destroy Becky Lynch at Survivor Series, and we were all going to move on with our lives. Nobody moved on with their lives. Everyone focused on the man, on Becky Lynch, and the boos for Charlotte were clear. The boos for Ronda Rousey were clear. The plan had to be shelved. The women's triple threat was born instead. Asuka admittedly got robbed once more because the plan going into WrestleMania, once it was pivoted, was her against Mandy Rose and Sonya Deville. They were building towards that in a triple threat. That was pivoted as well to give Charlotte a championship so that Becky Lynch ended WrestleMania with both championships. It ended up all being about Becky Lynch. So the question as to whether it's worth it actually doesn't involve Charlotte Flair all that much.
No, or Asuka, really, to a degree. Do you know what? If that answer doesn't get you more subscriptions to everyone that's watching right now, I don't know what it is, because you didn't just take 1 or 2 characters. You saw the direction of that entire roster over that next calendar year, and it just shows what, basically what storytelling in WWE is, because you have to get from one chess piece and one movement to the next. Everything should link together to make stories to get us to the next placement of where we need to be. And like you say, the plans were there, what we got from WrestleMania 34, what led into WrestleMania 35. And when you look at it at the time, just to give my sense of Asuka winning that first Royal Rumble, it was the right thing at the time because she was undefeated. And if you're going to put it in a Royal Rumble match, she felt like a legitimate person that would put Charlotte Flair away at WrestleMania 34. It didn't kind of work out what we perhaps expected if you're an Asuka fan. Afterwards, like you said, there were some bumps in the road, but there's no doubt she's had some lengthy reigns as Royal Women's Champion. She's been top of the card since. So, I mean, she got back to where she needed to be at some point.
Until the entrance of Bianca Belair, this was easily, in my mind, the best women's match on the WrestleMania card. Charlotte Flair versus Asuka. It's one I go back and watch all the time. It came straight after a triple threat with Seth Rollins, Finn Balor, and The Miz. Incredible triple threat. Those first 2 matches of WrestleMania 34, absolutely incredible, great fun, and really did introduce Asuka to maybe people who didn't watch NXT too much. We knew what she could do. We just knew she couldn't quite go the complete distance.
Absolutely, indeed. I completely agree. I hope that's answered your question there, Noob. And like I say, anyone else, throw your questions in, get them in. We've got Tom COLOHUE here for the next 15 minutes or so, so make sure to make the most of it. Of course, like I say, he's got his Spoiler Warning show himself at 10 p.m. himself, 5 p.m. Eastern here today on YouTube. Bama Chatter, apologies, says, but dang it, the true face of WWE, a redhead, loudmouth, Irish lass kicker, became the man and the GOAT. Sorry, Queen and Ronda cannot beat babyface ever again. Of course, referencing there to Becky Lynch, of course, what she did there. She did that rise, didn't she, to the top there. It does feel like, to a degree, he is right, because although Charlotte is a babyface right now, I know not everyone's a fan of it from what I see online and what I talk to with my friends. I don't necessarily know about the landscape of every fan, of course, because well, we don't know everybody, do we? But Ronda Rousey seems to be now going towards that heel direction again. Do you think that Bama's got a point here?
I do. When you look at the individual careers of the three women since, they tell very, very different stories. Becky Lynch admittedly took some time off to have a baby, but her time with the championship was pretty consistent. When she returned, she became champion again. With the latest draft, when she and Seth Rollins moved to Raw, they were going to be the top two people, top man, top woman, on Monday Night Raw for years to come. Then, admittedly, Cody became available, so they were bumped a little bit further down the card. But then, of course, you have Bianca Belair going back and forth. A lot's happened, but she's still a vital component. As regards Charlotte, I really think the fans will be turning her heel in no time, depending on who she faces at WrestleMania. Bayley, I feel, is a good choice. Might not be the one. Rhea Ripley also has got that cool heel sort of thing that the NWO used to have. They are very, very big fan bases behind both of these women. You're going to need a real clear heel to go up against Charlotte in order to keep her getting cheered. I think there's only one real option at the moment, and that is Ronda Rousey. But of course, where is she? Where's she gone? She has essentially vanished, Ronda Rousey. I'll be dealing with that a bit more in spoiler warning. But what I will say, people were cheering for Ronda Rousey. I don't think that will continue upon her return.
No. And Joe, it was a funny part actually, was they were trying to book a heel, and it felt like that was the time that fans actually were cheering her most. And then it kind of went back into that babyface role with Liv Morgan to win the championship, and then she just kind of turned full on heel, where it was just a bit different. It felt like that she almost had a bit of an Austin vibe, dare I say it, for about 2 weeks on SmackDown TV, the way she was being booked of that anti-establishment rebel. And all of a sudden, WWE went, yeah, no, we're actually just going to go with a heel, actually. I don't know if there's anything with the character direction with Ronda, with how it's meant to be for her going forward in WWE with the direction, or if it was just creative changes for WrestleMania coming up.
There's a lot happening with that. Ronda Rousey's contract is loaded up with clauses and loaded up with intent, which make it very clear what they can do and what they can't do. She has a lot of control over her overall character. She has a lot of control over how they will book her. Essentially, the idea is she's so big that you don't need to worry about face or heel. Let the fans do what they want. Just give her matches. A lot of people behind Liv Morgan. A lot of people have been behind Raquel Rodriguez, maybe not to the same extent, given that she's relatively new to the roster. But it was clearly decided that with the SmackDown roster as it was, they needed a heel at the top.
Absolutely, indeed. There, and do you reckon there's a chance? I think I asked you this on your own show just recently, but obviously I want to ask it here. You said there with Ronda, and obviously I don't know how long that contract is, but do you reckon that we are going to get the Becky match eventually? It feels like that. It just hasn't come around. I thought that maybe when she come back, that would be the match we'd have had at last year's WrestleMania. I kind of want it for this year's WrestleMania. Personally, if it was my sake, I wouldn't be surprised. We see Charlotte Flair actually involved in the question there. I wouldn't be surprised if they rewound that triple threat match one more time.
It's a difficult one to say because there is a lot going on with Ronda Rousey at the moment. What I will say, her initial run was supposedly going to be 3 years. I reported, I believe I was the only one at the time who reported that it was actually only going to be 12 months. Got a lot of heat for that report. A lot of heat for that report. Don't know if you were there at the time seeing how that one went down. But of course, in the end, it was a 12-month deal. Now, of course, there are rumors that, this one's only a 12-month deal, which is very interesting to hear because once again, it was supposed to be a 3-year deal. If there is an exit clause in that contract, there won't be a match. But what I will say, to my knowledge, there was no intention to have a Becky Lynch versus Ronda Rousey match at this year's WrestleMania after a certain point, that certain point being the arrival of Triple H. And now over the last few weeks, things may have started to change because of voices backstage who aren't supposed to be backstage.
Oh, I like that. And I like that we can just leave that dangling on a carrot for everybody. I'm sure that maybe people can put 2 and 2 together there. But Bama actually says, I need closure between Ronda and Becky, so I hope they face off at Mania. I'd love to see Bianca versus Charlotte as well to unify the titles. Bama, a very big fan of the idea of having one world champion, one women's champion, one tag champion. Do you reckon that's a good way to go? Or do you like the idea of world champions being on each separate brand?
It's a difficult one to say because it really does depend on the roster. Under the roster that Triple H has now, I want separate championships because it would mean a lot of people don't get any opportunities. Under the roster that we had previously, so for example, after Vince McMahon fired a whole load of people, it was a much smaller roster. Roman Reigns as both champions made perfect sense because you had a very small pool of main eventers at that point. Now, I would have them separate. I think this is why they're separating the tag championships, why they're looking at separating the Universal and WWE titles, but it really does depend on a certain amount of star power. Roman Reigns isn't going to be on both shows. He's barely going to be on one show after WrestleMania. At least splitting the titles has to happen.
Yeah, I would agree at this particular point. For myself personally, I'm a fan of the 2002 style that Bama refers to back when you had the one world champion. But like you said there, if we're going to have part-timers with the championships, we've seen what it's done in the past. Raw actually now being without a world champion for quite a while does seem to be quite harmful, it feels, in my personal opinion. So I totally get with where you're going. I want to get to Noob's comment in a couple of seconds, but just before we do, Shahid, it's been a long, long time. If Becky Lynch wins the Royal Rumble match, will she go for the Raw Women's Championship or the SmackDown Women's Championship, in your opinion, Tom?
I have absolute confidence she will go after the SmackDown Women's Championship. There is plenty of unfinished business with Charlotte Flair, and also there is a lack of top-level faces on SmackDown. Ultimately, it would be face versus face on either side, unless there is a triple threat unification with Bianca involved. Personally, I think it is likely that Becky will be the winner. She is one of the clear favorites, though when it comes to my prediction, she's not actually my prediction for it. When it comes to Bianca Belair, it's been and done. We're all a bit bored of it at this point in time. Give us a little time away. Becky Lynch and Charlotte Flair still have a bit of spice to it.
They do indeed. Then you mentioned there about your prediction there. Who is that pick then for the women's Royal Rumble match?
Well, I mentioned the name earlier as someone who I felt was a good heel to go against Charlotte Flair, but not necessarily enough to get people to continue cheering Charlotte. I have Bayley for this one. I've decided to go a little bit left field, a little bit out of nowhere. I have Bayley winning this one, defeating Becky at Elimination Chamber to sort of send her packing, and then going up against Charlotte Flair for the SmackDown Women's Championship, moving Damage Control permanently to the blue side.
I like it. I like that. It would be for me how I would feel at the moment outside of the box. But you know what? I think they could really work because Damage Control needs something, and I think it would really give Bayley that credibility to go back to for the championship of WrestleMania to go against Charlotte, a match we haven't seen now for a long time. So yeah, I think that could really tick a lot of boxes. I really like that. While we only have like about 10 minutes left for you, Tom, I want to make sure that we get your men's Royal Rumble prediction as well. So who is your pick for the men?
My pick for the men has been the same since June, when I first said it on a Hell in a Cell live stream. Cody Rhodes would be returning from injury and winning the Royal Rumble. It has not changed since, and all of the rumors that have come out since have not fazed me in the slightest. Cody Rhodes for me.
It does feel like that Cody is going to be a heavy favorite when it comes to the Royal Rumble this year. Well, we're getting Nubico's comment up for us now. We got our next guest that are waiting now in the green room, backstage, if you will. They'll be coming on very, very shortly. Nubico says, fast forward to 5 years later, we've got Charlotte Flair's face and possibly Asuka as a heel. And a lot of people want Asuka versus Charlotte. So tomorrow, when that buzzer hits, Asuka coming back as a heel. Do you see Asuka returning as a heel, or do you see her returning as the Asuka that we all know?
Noob is a regular over at Spoiler Warning, so he is fully aware. I don't believe the WWE will ever go for the Kana character that Asuka was known as in Japan, primarily because they're not big on her beating up the men regularly as she did there. For me, I don't see a heel Asuka. I see her returning at the Royal Rumble as a face after her time off, but I don't believe they really intend to book her as anything particularly special.
That's fair. That's fair. I mean, for me, I want her to return as a heel. I'll be honest with that. I love the bit of Kabuki Warrior Asuka back in the day, especially we get Kairi Sane as a mystery entrant. That could be quite fun just from the team up for a short time. That would be really fun if that did go down. But yeah, we'll have to wait and see. I still believe, as you said, I think it'd be more likely a babyface. And one more Asuka question that's come flying in for us as well from Lewis. Thank you, Lewis, for checking out the stream. Says, did Asuka really need to lose her streak to Charlotte, though?
It's a difficult one to answer as regards Charlotte, particularly when you consider the Ronda Rousey of it all. I could see where they were going with Charlotte. Asuka was going to lose her streak to someone. She was not going to be undefeated the entire time. The question is, who would have been better? Now, there are some options in retrospect, looking at, for example, Becky Lynch. I feel Becky could have been a good call there. But outside of Becky Lynch and Charlotte Flair at that time, there wasn't anyone even close to being that big. Potentially Sasha Banks, but she, as we know, has never been booked to be the top of the card. Charlotte Flair was always the top of the card. So she was always either going to lose to Charlotte Flair, Ronda Rousey, or Becky Lynch. And Becky Lynch was not the man for another 4 months. Charlotte was the obvious choice at that time.
And it took her to that next level, as you said earlier on. So I guess, it did work out as the right thing at the time. I still felt Oscar should have won at that particular moment. But when you explain that journey that we got afterwards there for the next calendar year, kind of does make a lot of sense. We've got probably a very quick time left with Tom. We've probably got him for about 1 or 2 minutes more, ladies and gentlemen. So we'll do one more for us then. And then we'll move things over then and say thank you to Tom. We'll say Lewis has got Cody Rhodes and Sami Zayn to win the Royal Rumble 23 match to relive the Bret Hart, Canadian and Lex Luger American hero moment from 1994. Are you familiar with that Royal Rumble? Was you a fan of that finish?
Very familiar with that. I liked that finish. We've seen it a few times since, accidentally, with John Cena and Batista. And did we not see it on NXT very, very recently? That, more than anything, tells me that we're not going to be seeing it.
No, absolutely not. And of course, you've gone with Cody as your prediction there. But Tom, before we have to be fair, really, with every good Royal Rumble match, I suppose the way we have to put it is we need eliminations. We can't just have people staying in the ring all the time. So unfortunately, you are going to be thrown over the top rope. Both feet are going to hit the floor in the most spectacular fashion possible. As starting off the Royal Rumble, obviously, you've been quite a journeyman here. You've been with us for well over 25 minutes. So it's a fantastic effort you've made. But before you do leave us, please tell everybody about your YouTube, your Twitch, your show coming up later today as well. And maybe we can also perhaps stick a link in the comments for you.
Yeah, we've got a busy day ahead of us on the Tom COLOHUE channel. Every Monday and Friday, we do Spoiler Warning, which is our news show at 10 p.m. UK, 5 p.m. Eastern Time. I will be live there in a half hour. Today, we're going to be talking about where Ronda Rousey has vanished to, plans for Brock Lesnar, the 3 lawsuits against Vince McMahon, Nia Jackson, who may be trying to push that particular one, the Becky versus Bayley feud, a little bit about Banger Bros, and a little bit about the backlash to no women's matches on SmackDown, the comments from Nikki and Brie Bella, and everything surrounding that. There is a bit of an issue going on in the locker room at the moment. We will be discussing that in a half hour.
Absolutely there. Well, I'll tell you what, if we can get, I'll try and do it myself. If not, Tom, please feel free to put it in the comments there for everybody. Yeah, it sounds like an action-packed show there for us. And of course, you do SmackDown Live watch along as well this evening. So a very busy man. I'm very pleased that he's managed to come and spend some time with us here today. Tom, thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
No worries. Take it easy and look after yourself and get to the showers. Get yourself ready for Spoiler Warning. Absolutely indeed. A fantastic stuff indeed. But ladies and gentlemen, as I say, we're just getting started. And yeah, we are basically going to get our next entrance here in the Royal Rumble. And of course, I may just say, I think that this may be a little bit louder than my audio. So you might want to turn the volume down just a little bit. But hey, do the countdown with me, shall we? Yes, it is the one, the only Irish Wrestling Entertainment. Listen, Cherry, how are you doing? Oh, we can't hear you. That's the only problem at the second. Hold on. There we are. How are you guys doing? We still I can't hear this particular. So maybe a bit of audio issue there.
We're good.
Yeah, that's it. Fantastic. How are you both?
Good, very good.
Fabulous, excited.
Yes, this has been a long time coming, this, because literally, like, you've been involved on videos on the channel here before. Obviously, it's been a lot of the collaboration videos with, like, maybe the best WrestleMania. We've done, like, the best Survivor Series and stuff like that in the past. But now to actually have it on a Q&A, this is really exciting. I've wanted this for a long time. It's great to have you both here. For people that are not aware of Irish Wrestling Entertainment, please, for the love of everyone, tell us a bit about yourselves.
Well, Irish Wrestling Entertainment, Jerry is the brains behind it, and I'm the brains behind Jerry. Way! But yeah, we pretty much cover everything. We're massive wrestling fans since we were both young. We met at a wedding, and the topic of the conversation was wrestling, funnily enough, and here we are X amount of years later. We are all over the place at the moment, conducting lots of little interviews, and super, super excited for the second best premium live event of the year.
Absolutely, indeed. And of course, you do some fantastic work as well on your channel. Like you say, interviews, there's podcasting going on. And I've got to say, I love your Twitter game, Instagram as well. Always such funny captions you put with a lot of stuff that's going on. Very topical as well. Always a great follow on social media.
Yeah, Twitter was really the basis of it. Really, we started off like connecting with probably the Simpsons wrestling memes. Like he put a lot of our stuff out there and got us noticed by a lot of people. So we got a shout out to him for doing that. And then we joined the Wrestle Slam podcast here in Ireland about 2 years ago. And that really got us noticed as well. So we've grown from there. We're still part of the Wrestle Slam podcast, where we thought we'd go out on our own. We cover a lot of Irish independent wrestling events. We travel around Ireland as much as we can to try and get as many indie shows as possible. So just to try and give some recognition for what the hard work that they're doing.
Absolutely.
So, but it's just something that we're enjoying doing.
Absolutely. Well, it's always great fun to actually see the work that you guys do. And like you say, it's great to put that exposure, that light out as well there for the independent scene over there as well. Get a bit of exposure for the talents over there. You never know who is watching. You're getting that attraction as well. I remember actually it was a couple of times with I think Pat McAfee was one of them as well. But the ball in the groin, I can't remember. Baron Corbin last year. That one sort of went viral.
It's mad. And you know what? Jerry's just so quick on the ball. It's just spot something and he can see how it's going to go straight away. So when people like Pat McAfee catch onto it, amongst others, it's madness. It's great.
Shout out to Matthew as well and Botchamania, because he's put out a lot of our stuff as well on his channel.
Yeah.
Absolutely incredible. Well, I tell you what, we're going to get to the chat in a minute and take a few of the questions there for us. Towards the end of your time, we'll get your Royal Rumble predictions as well. If anyone wants to jump ahead and get predictions from Liz and Jerry, then make sure to get that question in right now, because then we can skip ahead to it and do it nice and early. But well, just quickly before we do, I just want to get your excitement level for the Royal Rumble this year.
Off the chart, for many different reasons. The way when you're young and excitement fears explain to you that fear can be confused with excitement. It's kind of a little bit of that at the moment, because we don't really know who's in charge and we don't really know what way it's going to go, because there will be two very different winners of both Rumbles depending on who's calling it. And all we know from previous experience, last minute decisions are not a stranger to the Rumble, and they're definitely not a stranger to WWE. So it's excitement, trepidation, fear, and panic all rolled into one. But I'm still on the edge of my seat. I cannot wait. If there wasn't a Mania, it's my favorite. I love the countdown. I love the build-up. I love your heart breaking when your favorite didn't win. It has everything. It's like a great movie.
It is. It's an epic, long sort of 1 hour match a lot of the time, unless we're talking 95, like you say. There's something in there for everybody. Great variety, comedy spots. You've got your main eventers. You've got storylines that can build into WrestleMania, stuff building into the Rumble. It's that perfect ingredient for everything. Jerry, do you have the same feeling?
Yeah, I love obviously the countdown and the build up for the road to WrestleMania begins at the Royal Rumble. It's always been like that, but they always have little mini feuds that they've been building up throughout the year as well. And they're starting January and there's feuds going on SmackDown and Raw, and sometimes they'll bounce off each other. And 100% expecting like Rey and Dominic to have a face off at this year's Royal Rumble. Maybe they set up their match for WrestleMania. So that kind of stuff as well. The little Easter eggs that you get throughout the Rumble, that seeing legends coming back like Mickie James and Trish going off each other last year. Those little things is getting legends coming back that you see once a year, once every few years is always something special as well.
Absolutely, yeah, and I can't wait to see what this year has in store. Like, there just feels to be so much promise. We know that we've got Cody coming back instantly already. Rose to the Rumble. We've got Sammy with his great storyline with the Bloodline. We've got with the Women's Rumble as well. We know about 7 people that are in it. We're actually going to get some big surprises in and amongst it. Of course, everyone's talking rumors about The Rock as well, so lots to dive into. But our chat has got some questions, so without further ado, I think it's only fair that we put some questions to you as well while you're here. Lewis here says, Rhea Ripley wins the Rumble. Rhea Ripley versus Charlotte Flair has the spice more, as Rhea needs that win back from Charlotte. Remember, Cheeky Week, we were discussing this with Tom previously before about the idea of the last match they had at WrestleMania 36 in the pandemic. Would this be an idea, Liz? You were actually clapping your hands there. It feels like perhaps Rhea Ripley would be your pick there for the Rumble.
1,000,000%. I am living for Lewis's question and comment, because that is exactly what I would love to happen, because Rhea, absolutely. Now, that said, I don't think she was ready at 36. I don't. It wasn't on par with Charlotte for my liking, but Rhea needs a crowd to win in front of, and she's hotter than ever at the moment. I love what they're doing with her. I fear with the way direction of behind the scenes is going, but I love what they're doing with her, and she is my pick for the Rumble, 100%. And I would love to see her get a win over Charlotte Mania. Love it.
It would definitely be the same, wouldn't it? Jerry, go on.
Yeah, would like. If she doesn't win the Royal Rumble, there've been rumors of her going on to the men's one. Like, Rhea's good enough to win the men's one at the minute, the way she is. Like, she's bigger than half the roster. Like, she's, unreal. And, yeah, if she doesn't win the women's run, there's something wrong, because she needs to be in a main event match in WrestleMania for one of the women's titles.
Yeah.
Would you say then that it feels like her year? It feels like her moment.
Yes.
She needs that big win. She has to win something big this year.
Her character has developed so much. Not that she was lacking anything, but she needed a little bit of a tangent away from NXT Rhea Ripley. She needed that just to level it up another bit, and I think she's finally got the right ingredients and has got a really, really nice cake going on here.
No, she's not the leader of the Judgment Day, but she is definitely the one holding it all together.
The star, absolutely.
She is indeed. Yeah, she's always the front when you see with that group. The only time it's not is when Dominic's there, but she's got her arm around him, making sure you remember that Rhea Ripley is always there. I love a lot of this. And do you know why I love a lot of this as well? Because if Rhea does that, she goes over to SmackDown. Who else is on SmackDown? Rey Mysterio. Who else then can come and join her? Dominic Mysterio. So a lot of those tangents work really, really nicely together. So that could be a beautiful recipe for us right there. Bama Chatter says Bayley is definitely a dark horse for this match, but the other dark horse is Naomi. If she returns, her versus Charlotte at WrestleMania would be incredible, especially if she's a heel. Of course, Naomi, there has been rumors in that rumor mill that there's been talks with her in WWE, potentially that it's a good sign that we could be seeing her back. I have said previously, I'd love her to come back to be a part of the bloodline. Would this be something that you'd be open to?
I think so, to be honest. Yeah. I have like three front runners for the Women's Royal Rumble, and Bayley is one of them. Definitely a dark horse for this match. I do agree with Bammer, because Bayley needs a win. Bayley desperately needs a good win. I don't think Damage Control went the way it was supposed to. I don't think we care enough about them. But Bayley's a star in her own right. There's no need to. I don't think there was much need. It was a great way of bringing them all back, but they should be split by now. And Bayley's a heel, right? She's a great heel. It took a lot of work for her to be a heel. But if she wins, the pop is going to be massive. People recognize Bayley. If you were at Clash of the Castle, they couldn't wrestle that match. She had to acknowledge the crowd because they deafened everybody with "Hey Bayley." It was crazy. She's just got such a massive following. So if she wins, there'll be a massive pop. So not against it at all, and I think she needs it.
Yeah, it certainly would be. I mean, at the moment, I do feel that, and Jerry, I don't know how you feel about this. We said that it's just said the idea that perhaps with Damage Control, maybe Bayley could break away from the group. I wouldn't be surprised if we got a triple threat match between them breaking up at some point down the line if Bayley doesn't win this Rumble. Is that something you'd be interested in seeing? Definitely
possible. Bayley's a great heel. Bayley was always a good face, but this, the heel version of Bayley during the pandemic, the what was it called? This Thunderdome era, like when people weren't interrupting her, she was able to express herself a lot more, and that heel character came out a lot better.
Yep.
Now that the crowd is back again, she's still a heel, but it's not as good as it was without the Thunderdome crowd. So I hope she goes face again, but it doesn't be the whole hug me Bayley character. A triple threat would be great between them, but with the girls having the tag belts, I don't know, maybe somebody goes back and helps Bayley out, and maybe the two will turn on her and they'll have a tag team match. Bayley will be in a tag match with somebody else at WrestleMania against them. I could see something like that going down the line. I'm not sure if she's going to win the Royal Rumble. I think with Naomi coming back, I hope she comes back. She'll get a massive pop as well. I think it'll be phenomenal if she went on to win it. But, she did walk out of the company at the end of the day with Sasha at that time. I'm not sure, if she was following Sasha or they were going hand in hand, but I'm not sure they're going to just hand her the main event, the WrestleMania, the minute she comes back. It'd be a very surprise if she did, but I think put her in the bloodline definitely and let her run with them for a while.
I think you make a great point there. Like the idea, like we can organically get that going. Perhaps maybe Money in the Bank time would be more suitable rather than just come in. But then maybe that's the thing that makes her sign a new deal and come back. You promise that big match at WrestleMania, but we'll have to wait and see how it will go down. It certainly feels like it's a very exciting proposition, whatever does happen. But Lewis goes on to say Bayley or Becky Lynch wins the Chamber and face Bianca at Mania, or make it a triple threat. And on the other side, Rhea versus Charlotte. Of course, Rhea versus Charlotte we discussed heavily already. But Bayley or Becky against Belair. Obviously, we have seen the singles matches, but the triple threat does seem like the most appealing to me of those options.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind saying a triple threat. I have no issues with triple threat matches. I know a lot of people would say, it's been done, or they don't like triple threat matches at all. But you can't have 4 singles matches for the 4 main titles. It's just repetitive. It's the same thing. You have to change something up a bit, put in stipulations and stuff. So a triple threat is a good way to have a match without having added stipulations because triple threat rules is always there. So yeah, absolutely, Bailey and Becky need a match at WrestleMania, and if Charlotte and Rhea are going down the line and they have nothing else for Ronda Rousey, then 100% give them the match because they deserve it.
Yeah, and they'll all put on bangers that will protect everybody involved. It won't hurt anyone.
Absolutely. It's a fantastic point you make there. Ray UK 08, asking myself if I'm going to play WWE 2K23. Obviously, John Cena, I believe I couldn't quite see him, but he was a part of the video cover apparently this week. Yeah, there's going to be a whole series around him. I'm quite intrigued about it. I'm a big My GM kind of guy. I'm looking forward to the improvements of that. So I'm quite invested and intrigued of the idea of the game. I love the stills that I've seen so far. How about you guys? Will you be excited potentially to get WWE 2K23?
Not in the slightest. I haven't
at all.
touched a WWE game, a WWF game, I think, since the days of putting the game into the NES and pressing it down on a spring. I think that was the last time I played WWE.
Yeah, I SmackDown Here Comes the Pain was the last time I played.
To be fair,
long time.
If you were going to go out, that's the way to go out. To be fair, that was a heck of a game, one of the best in the series ever. I can't lie; it's been hard to top one of those sort of games since. Lewis says Ember Moon would have been his choice to beat Asuka. We've been talking heavily about Asuka on this stream so far, and about how she lost her undefeated streak after winning the first Women's Royal Rumble. So it could have been an up and coming talents instead of the same four. I think that's making reference there of Charlotte winning against Asuka, taking the undefeated streak back at WrestleMania 34. Obviously, we discussed that in heavy detail earlier, but I'll get your take on it quickly. Asuka winning the first Women's Royal Rumble, obviously then that match against Charlotte. Was that the right move? Would you prefer someone else to have beat Asuka instead?
I don't know if there was anyone else who could have, to be honest with you. Charlotte Flair's believable. If anyone was going to do it, it was going to be Charlotte Flair. Now, obviously, everything that happened afterwards, and she was shoved down our throats for so long. But it's hard to put a finger on anyone else who would have been believable to beat her and give her the match that she would have deserved to win, to be on, or to be defeated in. So, tough call. What do you think?
I think it was the right decision for her to beat him. I think it was the wrong decision for Shinsuke Nakamura to lose in the same night. Have both Royal Rumble winners lose on that WrestleMania was a bad decision. Either one of them should have won something so. If they went on first and Nakamura and AJ Styles, Nakamura should have won that match. I think that's the only issue people really have.
Yeah, because after those two rumbles, it felt like two new stars could have been born, and it didn't.
Yeah,
it didn't really work, particularly for Nakamura. I mean, he never really recovered after that. It felt, obviously. Was a low blow king for a little while, but that's about as far as it went. But I'm sure if you'd have been doing Twitter back in the day, there would have been some quality content with Nakamura back in 2018.
Oh my god, definitely. But was that the year that he came out with that epic entrance with Nisha Strauss?
Yeah.
He should have won. Just for the entrance alone, he should have won. It was 100%. Amazing.
Absolutely. Good times indeed there. Well, I'll tell you what, I'm going to quickly just come away from the chat just for a couple of seconds because we've talked about the Women's Royal Rumble there. Let's get your picks for the Men's Royal Rumble. Who are your picks to win?
Oh, this grinds my gears because it really depends on who's in charge. There's winners for both sides, right? So
what really grinds my gears?
What really grinds my gears, right? But the men's, who it should be Sammy. Sammy should be winning. The pop will be absolutely ridiculous. My only concern is after that is Sammy your face of the company? Is he going to get the sympathetic vote, that pop when he wins? Of course, we'd all love him to win, but is he the person who can carry the company on his back? That's the thing. It all depends on how they present him if he wins. He should for the pop, I suppose, really. Who is probably going to win depends on who's in charge. If it's Triple H, I can see Cody Rhodes winning. I know we've been fed it, and we've had roads to the Rumble. And it's our very, very obvious winner. But my fear is that we're going to turn into a Batista situation with everything that's going on. If anyone else is in charge, The Rock is winning the Rumble.
Interesting.
I think if anyone else is, if The Rock is going to win, and there will be uproar.
Oh, I like that. Jerry, what are your feelings?
Pretty much the same on Sammy. It would be amazing if he won it, but they'd have to tell, and they've been telling, the story has been phenomenal with him in the bloodline between now and WrestleMania. There would be a story there with Sammy won the Rumble where they're trying to convince him not to face Roman at WrestleMania and, keeping him in the bloodline and trying to butter him up and saying, "Oh, yeah, you'll get your title shot," or trying to convince him to give up his title shot in the chamber match or something like that, would be a good way to tell the storyline, and him turning his back on him eventually. That would be the perfect storyline for me. Cody winning it seems the obvious choice, though, the way they've been booking him, but they're overbooking him at the minute. There was announcing him a few weeks back that he's going to be in the Rumble, and these video packages that keep coming and coming and coming. It's just like, it's overkill now at this stage. They should have just left it at one video package, a couple of weeks ago, and said nothing and just had
just a hint. Yeah. Can I give you my outside gamble? Just go right. Okay, my outside gamble is that Sammy and enter other participant here are the last two in the ring. Sammy eliminates other person. He thinks he has won, and out comes Solo Sikoa from underneath the ring from an earlier elimination and eliminates Sammy, breaks everybody's heart, and keeps the bloodline strong.
Was Solo in the Rumble?
Yeah.
Oh.
And he will lie down for Roman, or he will rise up and be the ending of the bloodline, or he's going to rise up and end the bloodline. It's going to, if that's what's going to happen.
Outside bet, Jey Uso.
Yes.
Oh, storytelling at its finest.
Yes. Especially after Raw this past week, Tribal Court. Who was the one that saved Sammy? It was Jey.
Exactly. Oh my God. The drams. I love it.
Absolutely. The full circle moment. I would be all over that if that was to go down. I'm going to get one more prediction from you, and then we'll go back to the chat. I think that most people so far have been quite consistent with this one. Roman Reigns versus Kevin Owens.
I can't see Roman Reigns losing this.
No.
At all.
No way.
I know there's shouts for Kevin Owens to win the Rumble as well, but again, I don't think he's the guy to carry the company, but I can see Roman Reigns winning this definitely, and I think there'll be a little bit more, there'll be a few more shenanigans, which we love.
I'm curious how they're going to book it, because they had Roman and Kevin at the Royal Rumble 2 years ago. False count, last man standing, or false count anywhere, one of those.
It was, remember they couldn't open the padlock.
They chained them there. And the Usos got involved and cost them the match, and they can't retell the same story twice. So Solo is probably going to cost them at this time. Sammy maybe, I'm not sure, but there's no guarantee Sammy will be in the Rumble. Roman will say, show your loyalty to the bloodline, and don't enter the Royal Rumble.
Oh, there's all potentials with this story.
That's the good thing about the Rumble.
Yeah,
I hang on to every bit of storytelling they give me with that. I'm absolutely loving it. Lewis, I can't get this comment quick enough, but he's asked about your opinion of the team stuff that we've seen with Drew McIntyre and Sheamus. Of course, they were called the Banger Bros, but of course now that's changed if you believe reports today. Apparently, they've looked into it, and Bang Bros is a porn company, so I don't think we're going to be seeing much of that anymore with a PG company. But the partnership with Drew and Sheamus, nonetheless, I would say personally, I've enjoyed it. I like the fact they have a match potential with the Usos again coming up. Do you see them remaining as a team, or do you reckon it could lead to a WrestleMania match between the two?
I don't know if it's there for the long haul. Do you know, that kind of way? Because I think the other two bangers, for lack of a better word, seem to have kind of disappeared a little bit into the background, I think, so which is a little bit of a shame, because it should really be the makings of them, the guys,
Butch and
Ridge. and Ridge, so because this should really be the makings of them, which it was for a bit, but they've just kind of faded into the background a little bit now with this tag team that's come up. And I'm not 100% sure that it's everyone is on board, I'd say, backstage for this tag team either, or this tag team. I think it's two big beefy men slapping meat, which we all know who loves that. So I'm long haul, maybe not. I can't see them being together long. Do you think?
It's hard to know. Like, they've had their feud. Like, they had their feud last year. They've had plenty of matches together. So whether they stay together long term, I wouldn't be I wouldn't opt out of them having a match against each other at WrestleMania, but I'm not. There wouldn't be much to it. It would be like maybe a second match on the card kind of thing, and just give them 10 minutes and let them slap the crap at each other. But Sheamus definitely deserves, after the year he has, he's definitely deserved a big Mania match, because he's had a great year, and he's been putting on the best performances of his career, and everybody thought his career was over a few years ago. So I'm not sure what they do with him, whether they stay in this group with Pete Dunne and Ridge Holland, but I'm not sure who takes the belts off the Uso. I have no idea who's going to take the belts off them. I don't think it's going to be Sheamus and Drew, though.
Should be Imperium.
Imperium would be a good shout. Sammy and KO is probably my current if I had to guess right now, but we'll have to wait and see as the story will develop. Lewis has given us some potential breaking news. I'm not sure. I haven't seen this myself, so I'm going to take it off the comment here. Jay White lost his loser leave New Japan match, so that means Hikuleo won that match. Do you think it'll be a surprise entrant in this year's Royal Rumble? This is a spicy one.
Definitely, there's rumors galore about this before this match, isn't there?
There was rumors Hikuleo was going to join WWE and
That's what I saw.
with them. Yeah.
Oh, I can see Jay White popping in, absolutely. I think he'll get a great pop.
He could come out in number 3, have that AJ Styles pop at number 3, the way he came out a couple of years back.
Get a good run, and then people will see, like, you know, where he's going to go for the future. What a great call. Imagine if he does. That would be amazing.
Well, the Good Brothers need somebody. They're missing AJ Styles.
Correct.
Jay White could be a perfect person to slot in there.
And he would seamlessly.
That would be amazing. Yeah, I would love to see that. I mean, I've always thought if he was to leave, he'd go to AEW. That was always my initial thought. But if he was to come to WWE, be in the Rumble, like you said, that's a great placement and a great way to bring him in as well. So that'd be really exciting. And for me, if you're going to do that, I mean, I know that he's not necessarily known to all the audience, but for the hardcores, and you know that the Rumble features hardcore fans, have him in a late entry, have him like a 29, have him at a 30. I think that would go down really, really well. I think that could be quite exciting. Lewis also, he's got quite a few comments, Lewis. I like this. He's taking over.
He's buzzing.
He is bossing, isn't he? He's loving this, and we're thanking you, Lewis, for doing that as well. It says Rhea Ripley reminds me of Charlotte China. Don't hate me for this comment, but I kind of want to see her win the IC title one day. If you had that comment, I'm going to try and bring this comment back later on because NXSTEVE will be joining later on. He has said this for about 6 months or so. He'd love that idea. So, yeah, I mean, would you like to see that?
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. As a star in her own right, none of this enforcer crap, and then eventually goes on to have her own star. Her star's already shining bright, so they just need to elevate her now. She don't win the Rumble, then she is good enough to take on the men, and not if she does show up in the men's Rumble, not as a gimmick, not at all. There's no need for her to be in there as a gimmick. She can hold her own and probably beat the living daylights out of all sorts who are already in there. But totally, why not? Give her the IC title. But yeah, she just reminds me of China as well. Just in a different era, and you know, is having a better time.
That's a dream match, though. China against Rhea.
Oh my God, Beth Phoenix.
Yeah, Beth as well. That's something they're talking about as well. Is Beth coming back?
It could be in the Rumble.
Yeah,
it could happen.
Could happen as well. That could maybe Beth will stop her winning the Rumble. Maybe there'll be somebody else winning.
It's all there. It's all there. Yeah, I tell you. The excitement is at fever pitch here tonight. You can see we've got Rumble fever. Noob, I want to make sure that I get a few other comments as well there for us. Noob says the most embarrassing moment in Royal Rumble history. I believe it's the ending of the Royal Rumble 2005 where Vince tore his quads. Of course, that was quite an embarrassing moment there. We mentioned earlier on about people going over the top rope at the same time. Goodness, this was one for the ages.
Horrific.
Horrible.
Oh my God. And you could just feel it. And when you found out afterwards what happened and you saw him go into the ring, it catches your throat. It actually really does catch your throat. And you're like, ugh, and nobody knows it's after happening. But I'm sorry, I'll top Vince. I will absolutely top Vince. I'm sorry, the greatest Royal Rumble in the world. If it's included, the greatest Royal Rumble in the Titus World slide is one of the best things I have ever seen on my television in my life. If that was an LED board on the side of the ring, you were dead. Oh my God, it was amazing.
And it was the only side of the ring that didn't have an LED board.
I know. How lucky was that poor boy that day? My luck, it would have been there. I would have gone straight into it and that would have been game over. But yeah, I'm pleased for him. But the world slide still was remembered as one of the funnest Royal Rumble moments to this day. We'll go to a couple more comments, and I want to get your couple of predictions as well, because we will have our next guest joining us very, very shortly. We're about 5 minutes away. She's already in the green room. I'll give you a clue there. She's in the green room waiting to join us. Ray UK 08 says, I hope my favorite Becky Lynch wins the Royal Rumble. I don't want to see a heel win. Do you feel that the Royal Rumble is best suited for a babyface to win, give you that momentum going into WrestleMania?
Depends on who's champ.
I don't think, but I don't think Rhea would get a heel. Nobody would boo her for winning. She's over as a heel, like she's not being booed like Ronda is. Like she's actually a heel that everybody loves, and she deserves. Everybody would say she deserves to win the Rumble, like after last year with her and Bianca. Like she's got the ability to beat records and eliminate as many people as possible. Like
absolutely, yeah.
Definitely. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, I think you make great points there. That it's not necessarily it depends on who's the champion there, and obviously you said there just some great arguments. But Liz, I don't want to actually talk over you. What was you going to say?
No, you're grand. No, it's exactly the same what you were going to say. Is it does depend on who's champion, and as well as that, we all know that it could be called on the fly at the very, very last minute. And again, we've had baby faces win it before and have been booed out of the building. I mean, Roman Reigns was company favorite, and he's so over with the fans in 2015. Even The Rock couldn't save him. So it's just, it's like it's so hard to call. It really does depend on so many the word fails
factors.
Me. Thank you. So many factors, mitigating factors. There we go. There's the long one. Yeah, it really, really does. So, oh God, I can't wait.
It's there. It's there. The excitement and the buzzness is there. And I'll tell you what, we're all here for it. A couple more comments and we're going to get your last Royal Rumble predictions then before we get our next guest on. So Lewis says Bayley wins the chamber and give Rhea this Rumble. Add Becky, then we can have Rhea versus Charlotte, and then we can have Bianca versus Bayley versus Lynch. Your two Mania matches. Lewis, we've discussed them in detail, and I think they make a lot of sense there. Could be a lot of fun. Also goes on to say, for SummerSlam this year, we're going way into this. I love it. It says long-term booking at the end there. Becky and Bayley versus Io and Asuka versus Dakota and Tegan for the Women's Tag Team Championships there. Do love a bit of long-term booking. I like where we've seen there with the old friendships putting people together as well. That could be a lot of fun there. And just to get one more comment in there, Richard Rose, of course he was going to be turning up at some point. He loves these streams, and he says his favourite, Zoe Stark to win the Royal Rumble, and if so, he's a big Zoe Stark fan each and every stream. I tell you what, I will be happy for you, honestly. And it goes the men's for Dominic Mysterio. If you get your wishes, honestly, I might even buy you a beer and send it over. That's how much if you get your wish. But I tell you what,
Ray will help him win it.
Oh, it's the double cross.
Absolutely, indeed. Well, I'll tell you what, there's a couple of matches when we need to get your predictions on just before we leave the stream here. Definitely done these matches in the wrong order this time round. But Bray Wyatt versus LA Knight, that pitch black match. How do you see it going down?
Bray Wyatt. Surely it's Bray Wyatt winning, and hopefully a nice introduction to Uncle Howdy.
As long as we can see the match and it's not got weird lighting.
Yeah.
Don't even jinx it. Don't. I can't get the red lights out of my head. Don't.
And it's, I'm hoping for neon lights. If we have with everyone with the camera phones, maybe it can be doable. But yeah, I do have the same fears and reservations as you do when it comes to this match. But we'll see how it goes. But also Bianca Belair versus Alexa Bliss. Speaking about the spooky stuff, Alexa's changed the gimmick recently. There's links with the Uncle Howdy stuff. How do you see the match going down?
Bianca has to win it, unless they're going for Bianca versus Charlotte for her title. But Bianca has to be in a title match at WrestleMania, so I can't see Alexa holding it.
No.
Yeah, I'm with you, and that surely Bianca's getting this, but I don't think it's the end of their feud.
No, I agree with you. I think that there is another sort of, we've got 3 weeks until Elimination Chamber after this. I can see that could be the direction as well there. But well, I want to say this has flown by this half an hour. We need to make sure that we do this for a full episode at some point in the future. But for people that are unaware of your content, of where to find you and follow you on social media, please, the platform is yours.
Sure, fabulous. So you can find us at Irish Wrestling 8 on Twitter, on TikTok, on Instagram, and also on Facebook. We post regular podcasts on subjects including wrestling and outside of wrestling as well. Of course, you'll see Jerry lots on Batchmania as well as Simpson Wrestling. I never get that right. The one with the Simpsons one, I'll never get that right as for as long as I'm saying it. And yeah, give us a shout out. We've got a giveaway coming up very soon. As also check us out on our next YouTube.
I look forward to it. Honestly, great follow, obviously great content, and it's great to finally do one of these clubs with you both. But of course, like every good Royal Rumble match here, I may have been outnumbered, it seemed, on this particular time. But, well, one missed clothesline. I've managed to get one of you over the top rope. I've now managed to get both of you over the top rope. I'm going to say a big thank you and farewell. I've managed to get to the next stage of this Royal Rumble match. But thank you both so much for being on.
Thank you, Steve. Thanks very much for
Enjoy.
Look after yourselves and take care. And I'll tell you what, our next person is in the green room, ladies and gentlemen. I'm going to be bringing on in a couple of seconds. Keep your questions coming in, but of course, like I say, maybe just turn the volume down a couple of notches because this countdown is going to get loud. I've been looking forward to this for a very long time. We've had, again, You've been involved in collaborations before here on the channel with the Great Survivor Series, WrestleMania, Royal Rumble as such. You do fantastic work on your own YouTube channel, interviewing wrestlers, doing all sorts of reviewing of content as well. The YouTube channel In Cap We Trust. You do women's wrestling talk. If I'm not mistaken, you even do announcing for a wrestling promotion as well. Katrina, welcome to SCW. How are you doing?
I am well, thank you. I appreciate that intro. Thank you.
It's a lot of things to remember, but I've done my best to see as much as possible. How are you doing? Are you looking forward to the Royal Rumble?
I am. The Royal Rumble is always like, for me, that's the starting point to WrestleMania. So it's always one of the biggest. I mean, outside of Wrestle Kingdom, since that does happen first, it's like one of the biggest moments of wrestling. So I'm excited.
Absolutely, indeed. And is there a particular match you're looking forward to the most?
The Rumbles, actually. I kind of want to see who's going to kind of pull it off. Like, there's kind of a few things I can see happening with the win. And so I feel like I'm looking forward kind of to the Rumbles if I'm going to get any surprise entrants this year.
Interesting stuff indeed. Well, I'll tell you what, I'm going to try and get some of your predictions later on in the half an hour that we have you here today. But of course, we do have a number of questions that do come flying in as well. And one that was a big topic earlier in the stream before you came on was the talk of a comeback of Naomi, potentially, if she could come back at the Royal Rumble, potentially as well, even being a part of the Bloodline. Lewis has put a question in as well for us. Let's talk about Naomi, put her in the Bloodline with Tamina. I'm sure Tamina, the one who brought the Usos to WWE, them as tag team champions. First off, I mean, it seems like a fun idea. It's a fantasy booking idea, but the idea of Naomi returning at the Royal Rumble, do you think there's a potential we could see it?
Yeah, she always, to me, had some really cool moments at the Rumble. And so they're saying she's supposed to be coming back, and I don't know for sure, because she's been doing her thing on the side and she seems like she's thriving, and that's, well, I love that. But I will be happy to see her back in the Rumble. And to kind of add to the bloodline, we don't have any women like in there yet. It's a whole bunch of guys, and not that because I love the Usos, Solo Sikoa is like also Solo Sikoa, is also like super like the enforcer type. I like Paul Heyman's a nice little addition to have somebody kind of being a bit of a mouthpiece. And so we wouldn't be bad to see some women in there. I wouldn't mind it. And being that Naomi and Tamina worked previously together when they were in NXT, it's like, kind of all up in there. And so I can see it happening. It is a bit fantasy booking, but I can definitely see it being like a plausible thing WWE would do.
I agree. I think there certainly is. If they're not going to go with the Women's Championship direction for Naomi to come back, certainly the tag team titles. The Bloodline are used to having gold. So Naomi, of course, no stranger to that tag team championship either. So would be certainly something that would be exciting to see. Lewis has also gone to say that The Rock versus Roman Reigns, of course, that rumor going around, The Rock could come back. Speaking of the Bloodline, doesn't need the Rumble. Their family feud, it's a title itself. Cody and Sami should win the Rumble together, similar to Bret and Luger in 1994. Well, I'll tell you what, let's get your take on the men's Royal Rumble match. What are you feeling? Do you have a favorite? Do you have a winner in mind?
I don't know if I have a favorite. I feel like this can go a few ways though. Like we know Cody Rhodes is coming back. He did make that announcement that he will be back. Before the injury, a few people were already thinking that he could be the person, a favorite to win the Rumble, as far as seeing him be champion again at some point. And then who's going to take the title off of Roman. And so I can kind of see that. But I can also kind of see Sami Zayn as well, only because I feel like it would cause more discord with the storyline that is happening with the Bloodline. Like, it's always like he beat the trial that just happened, and then Roman made it very clear to say, well, for now, you beat the allegations or whatever. And so if he wins the Rumble and he's going to come for somebody who's now double champ, it kind of puts more discord of like, would he really still be for Roman in the situation? And so I can kind of see Sami winning this as well, honestly.
To be honest, my head says Cody, my heart says Sami. Like if we got Sami winning the Rumble, like you said, there's so many possibilities. And someone mentioned 2005 earlier on. Batista had that vibe as well. Would he turn on Evolution? So it's kind of that similar vibe. I like the ideas of what's being given to us there. And of course, we've got Ray here saying, I want to see a face Sami win the Royal Rumble, not as heel Sami. I just want to see Cody Rhodes be Mr. Money in the Bank, not winning the Royal Rumble. So, I mean, it seems like Sami is a sentimental favorite, it feels.
Yeah, I mean, Sami's came a long way, just even before he got to WWE, and then his whole build-up in NXT when he finally got the title, and then the whole thing with him and Kevin Owens where they kind of brought back, which I thought was perfect storytelling, by the way. But yeah, I can definitely, I mean, I like face Sami too, I'm not going to lie. I do, and so you don't really want him to be a heel, but I feel like it's also just so much goodness with that Bloodline story. So I want it, but Cody being Mr. Money in the Bank, I feel like can do some things as well. So it's not too far of a like swerve too much. I feel like he can really do something if he had the case. But I feel like Money in the Banks always work better with heel rather than faces, in my opinion, at least.
Absolutely. I mean, who knows? Maybe by that point, Cody may even turn to the dark side, but you never know. He didn't want to do it in AEW, so I kind of agree with you. It does work better with a heel. Cody, maybe it does work better with a Rumble. We'll have to wait and see how it'll play out, but thank you for your comment anyway there, Ray. Lewis says, last 5 of the Rumble guys, we've got Zayn, Cody, Rollins, Jey Uso, and Solo. Would not be against that as a final 5, Katrina. I'm not going to lie.
That's actually a pretty solid 5. I feel like Seth Rollins, because he's Seth Rollins, is going to do some stuff at the Rumble. I truly feel that. But Solo kind of getting his footing. I thought he was like great in NXT, and I knew he was coming up. I was like, oh, this is definitely him, and so I wasn't surprised when it happened. But I can see him definitely to kind of showcase him outside of just being an enforcer for the Bloodline, kind of get in quite a few eliminations. I definitely see that. And again, if you're kind of working this whole Discord with Jey Uso and Sami Zayn, and then the whole Jey Uso with Roman, and there's that story still that we kind of didn't really get to resolve. Like it ended a little bit, but there still has to be some feelings about how that played out when it with the two of them kind of had to go against for the title. And again, I do believe Cody will probably be the top 5. So this is a pretty solid last 5 in the Rumble, honestly.
Yeah, I agree. I think that this definitely looks like a good 5 because the storytelling that's amongst that is beautiful as well. Like you said, we can get so much possibilities from it as well. And I personally could see the idea maybe of a Cody and Rollins even starting the Rumble. So perhaps maybe they go the distance. It wouldn't be a shocker at all. But we'll have to wait and see how it will go down. But Lewis has got a few in there for us. But anyone else that's watching, you can feel free to throw in some questions as well. And what if Roman says show your loyalty to the Bloodline and Sami Zayn comes to the Rumble as El Generico, of course, his old Ring of Honor gimmick and wins it. That pop. Yeah, I mean, I don't know if many people in WWE are as familiar with El Generico, but certainly if Sammy was to reveal himself afterwards, that would be quite a fun moment as well.
I mean, I feel like, yes, because I do know who that is. And if you're trying to kind of give off where you're not really kind of, I guess, betraying them right away, then yes, that would be smart. But I feel like that's also a lot of extra to put into that. That gives me more of like a Kevin Owens vibe right now for what Sammy is currently doing. I don't see him going that far as to, come out as El Generico. I mean, I would be interesting if they pulled that off, but I don't really see him doing that just because of where he's at in the storyline right now. It seems like he's really trying to prove himself, and maybe it'll be a problem by tomorrow. Like he's kind of tired of being questioned every other week, but we'll see.
I like that idea of how you could do that. Like, I'm tired of being questioned and yet finding a way to get people to ask questions since you put me in that position. I think that could be quite a fun idea there. Noob, back with us now, says, what do you think? Who do you think will come in the Women's Royal Rumble at number 30? I got Asuka coming in at number 30. Katrina, who are you feeling for number 30?
Number 30, I don't know. I mean, I love Asuka to kind of, that's the girl, but I don't know if I see her at 30. I feel like maybe if you want to get somebody we haven't seen in a bit, but they don't have to work too hard, maybe Beth Phoenix can come in at 30, just because we haven't seen her for a little bit, and there was still that stuff going on previously with her in the storyline, and then she was gone. And so kind of to avoid her having to work too hard at number 30, maybe I can see Beth Phoenix popping up. I wouldn't be surprised about that. I'm trying to think of anybody who can pop up that I wouldn't be surprised. I thought Michelle McCool, but she seems like she's not going to be there, so I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised. I'd be surprised if they changed their minds about that. But as of right now, she's saying she won't be there. But I don't know. I feel like maybe Beth Phoenix.
Beth Phoenix will be a fantastic shout, especially with Rhea being such a favourite, thinking she's got through the whole field, and then all of a sudden, that person she put on the shelf at Extreme Rules, that's a fantastic idea there for us. For me, I did give a prediction yesterday. I now don't remember who I said on my prediction stream, which is not the best thing in the world, but I do think that we are looking probably at a big name. We're looking to try and give big names. I think yesterday I said Shayna Baszler, as I thought myself. Sometimes you usually get the muscle coming towards the end of the match, but I think I like your idea of Beth Phoenix more. It's more of a pop. It's more exciting. 30 should be exciting, should be a big feel. Shayna Baszler's great, don't get me wrong, but she for me feels like someone that perhaps should be almost one of the journey people in the Rumble. She's there to break bones, make a mess, get people thrown over the top rope, probably get rid of, dare we say, the lesser people on the roster, like the undercard, if you want. Like, I don't want to sort of give names, but someone that could be an NXT call-up, getting their first bit of exposure. They get 5-10 minutes. Shayna's there. off you go. Right, okay, we're going to get you out of the match now. And I think that's a good way to do it. So yeah, I think that could be a good way to go. But Lewis has got one more comment for us. And I'll tell you what, we'll talk some more Royal Rumble, perhaps get some of your predictions, Kat, in a couple of seconds. But Gunther, Sheamus, Drew McIntyre, perhaps a banger incoming for a triple threat match at Mania for the IC title. Would you like to see it?
I wouldn't mind. Gunther is like, I appreciate his skill. I wasn't a fan in the beginning because I don't know, I just wasn't a fan. But I appreciate his in-ring ability. And the last time Sheamus and Drew, it was a banger. I feel like while Sheamus and Drew are like always on and again, off again friends, like they're cool 1 minute, but sometimes they got an issue and they're fighting. So you can kind of play that again, and maybe they'll be friends after the match. And it might just be just a one-off kind of match. So I can definitely see it. I do think with the three of those, especially with Sheamus, and then Gunther like style, it'll be a really awesome match if we got that. So I wouldn't mind it.
I wouldn't either. I think it'd be a great way to go. I personally would like to see either singles match with Gunther, but a triple threat match, I'd be all down for that as well. Though, great question, did there? DWE in the house. Dan, the man Williams, of course, trains to be a professional wrestler all the way from Wales. This is back-to-back streams. Yes, I was there yesterday. I'm here today. And do you know what, Dan? Back to back, you've joined us as well. Thank you so much for coming in the stream. Hope you're doing well. Feel free to drop in some questions as well. Anything you want, perhaps maybe for Katrina to answer, maybe surprise entrance, something like this. You know, get yourselves involved. We've got Katrina for us for the next 20, maybe 15, 20 minutes or so. And then we have one more guest left here today. But while we are out of questions just for the second, what I'm going to do is I'm going to get some of your predictions, Katrina, for the Royal Rumble, if you don't mind, starting with Roman Reigns versus Kevin Owens. Who do you see taking that W?
Roman. I think it's going to be a good match. Kevin Owens do know how to wrestle. He knows how to give. When you need Kevin Owens to do what he needs to do, he does it every single time. And so I think it's going to be a fantastic match. But I do not see Roman losing this at the Rumble. I feel like if he's going to lose it, it has to be at a WrestleMania. I feel like it has to be at the grandest stage for somebody like a Roman who's supposed to be like above everybody. It's like the head of his own family, the head of the company, and all these things. It has to be at a grand stage. So I do not see Roman losing Kevin Owens at Royal Rumble.
No, it seems a very logical answer you've given there. Like, you know, a big stage at WrestleMania, we're so close to it. Why would Roman lose here? But I've got to say, every single person up to now has said Roman Reigns. You were certainly the quickest to get there. I didn't even finish the question. Roman Reigns. It's not even had to. We could have had a stopwatch there of how quick that was. But I love it. It's it's absolutely perfect. But is it going to be the same feeling then on this next one? Bray Wyatt versus LA Knight. We've got this pitch black match for the first time ever. The Mountain Dew pitch black match. Got no idea what we're walking into. We know it's going to be kind of like a no rules kind of environment. Do you see Bray winning his first match back on television, or do we see LA Knight kind of becoming the true megastar?
I do think Bray's winning it. I feel like after the history just recently with him getting let go and people were upset about it, people really kind of got behind the whole Firefly Funhouse situation. And then him coming back with like the multiple personalities that he's been portraying in the last couple of weeks, or like the voices or whatever, I feel like it would make sense for him to win. I would actually be very surprised if they do a whole different and go with LA Knight. I do think LA Knight is definitely going to showcase what he can do in this match, and I think he's going to have his moments, but I don't understand why they would take him over Bray in this. I feel like it makes sense for Bray to kind of have, especially with the moment with him and Undertaker, literally this past Raw, with kind of like the passing of the torch a bit. I feel like this is all just a perfect way to kind of have him win this match, especially this kind of a match which is new for WWE standards. So I don't see LA Knight winning this. I do think he's going to have some good moments, but I think Bray's taking the match.
I think you could be right on that one. I have the same prediction there, but I've got a very good question here that has come in, which could just change the game a little bit from our previous guest, the Irish Wrestling Entertainment. Could Uncle Howdy cost Bray his match with LA Knight and set up Howdy versus Bray match at WrestleMania? What do you think about that?
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised. I don't know how I feel about it, but if it happens, I wouldn't be too surprised, only because it kind of goes with the conflicting of his feelings that he's been talking about since he's gotten back. Like, kind of trying to be this way, but it's kind of hard. And so if Uncle Howdy come and we have kind of a little setup, maybe this would be a new next step for Bray, I wouldn't be surprised. But I don't know how I feel about it happening. Like, I don't know if I'll be happy about them having him like have a weird kind of disqualification type situation for his match. But I wouldn't be surprised either. I feel like that you can get some good meat out of that if it's done right.
Yeah, I think if it's done right. Have you enjoyed the Bray character since coming back with the introduction of Uncle Howdy?
It's been decent. I wasn't really a fan of, people are going to probably say, I wasn't really a fan of the Firefly Funhouse. I liked Bray honestly better when he was part of the family. I thought the whole creepy family reminded me very horror-ish, and that's like my stuff. And so I loved that. And I wasn't really like fond, but I do like this version. I feel like it seems more genuine. Actually, as far as like, especially when he was talking in the ring about like his stuff, and I'm like, this feels really genuine. That I'm a little bit more behind it than I was when he was here previously. So I dig it.
Yeah, the thing is as well, like it's a slow burner. I must admit, for me, I do feel like sometimes I want to see the story move a bit quicker, but at the same time, I've had enough arguments thrown to me, the idea that actually everything could just click one day and you kind of go, that meant that meant that. So I'm very open-minded to what could happen, and I'm sort of very open-minded with this match as well. I don't know quite what to expect, but I think that's quite the fun and the intrigue and the excitement of it. And if this was the actual outcome here that's been given in this question, I'm not against it because it gives more questions than answers. And for me, as a wrestling fan, I like having, when we come out with the show going, rather than that was the finish, that's it, we move on. I like that idea of thinking, what does this mean next then? Because I didn't see that coming. Do you get that kind of same buzz and excitement?
Yeah, I think that's one of the exciting parts of wrestling. If it's like, we might can figure it out, we watch wrestling long enough, sometimes we can kind of figure it out, but always when you're like, oh, okay, I didn't expect that. I think that's one of the best parts of wrestling, and so I love that feeling.
Absolutely, it's a top feeling indeed there. DWA says, I've been surprised at how many people have said LA Knight after yesterday's stream and speaking to my mates. Do you think it's due to the slow burner booking of Bray and being the main guy in this feud? I mean, well, let's talk LA Knight for the minute then, because obviously, in my opinion, I suggest I think he could be a breakout star this year because when he's been on the microphone, and I've seen him in multiple promotions, he's always been great on the mic. He just doesn't feel out of place. It doesn't matter who he's in the ring with. He's been in the ring with Bray Wyatt this past week on Raw. He shared an arena more than the ring with The Undertaker, but he shared it anyway. And he didn't seem out of place on that microphone. It just really shows the potential that LA Knight does have in WWE.
Yeah. I'm taking it. This is going to be the time because I do think he's great on the mic, and we kind of lost a little bit of that when they was doing the model situation with him, and we kind of lost a little bit of that, and so we're kind of seeing him again how good he is on the mic, and so I really think that tomorrow's match is going to really showcase it. Like if you wasn't aware previously, you're going to really see what LA Knight can do, and I feel like it's one of those like situations that we're going to be pleasantly surprised tomorrow.
I think so as well, and I hope so because, like I said, there's a lot of questions with regards to this match, and I'm looking forward to getting those answers. And one that I think could actually be, for me, was the hardest match to decide one way or the other is Bianca Belair versus Alexa Bliss for the Raw Women's Championship. How do you see that playing out?
I mean, I think it's not going to be necessarily an easy match for Bianca, but I do think Bianca is keeping her belt. They've been literally saying for the last couple of weeks, like she's been hitting the milestones, holding the belt as long as she's had it now, and all of these things. She's like everywhere, in like a good way. She's like everywhere. She's popping up and doing these interviews, and I think that's a really good press also for WWE. So I think it's going to be a bit hard because Alexa is kind of in this past state again, where she's kind of like acted like she was previously and not the way she was when her and Bianca first kind of teamed up. And so I think it won't be easy for her to win it, but I do think she's going to keep it. I do think Bianca's going to pull it off, personally.
Yeah, I had the same prediction in the end because I thought that big change with Alexa Bliss is that going to be, rewarded with a championship. Maybe Bianca would do something different. Say it's one of the early matches of the night and the Rumbles later. Could Bianca go on and win the Rumble? We saw her share the ring with Charlotte Flair on Raw. Rumble gets me overthinking far too much. But at the same time, you sit and think there's so many possibilities. But I kind of agree with you. Bianca Belair, she's been champion for 300 days, I've seen on Twitter today. She's kind of booked like that sort of the way John Cena was, the way Roman Reigns is booked now. And you just kind of think you look at Bianca Belair and you just think, star. You can put her on a poster, you can put her at a charity event. Everyone knows Bianca Belair now, who knows anything to do with wrestling. And it just goes to show that now we're going into the biggest show of the year. It just makes sense to have your top star being in that top match as champion.
I agree. I will be, again, very surprised, but I don't see a reason for them to take the belt from her here. I feel like you had a lot of people behind her anyway, leading up to the first win, and then the thing with the Becky thing and her getting it back. I feel like if it's going to be a loss, it shouldn't happen. I feel like you should go to WrestleMania definitely with having her, especially against, she's been champion for 300 days. It just makes sense to me.
I would agree. I totally would agree at this stage. Dan goes on to say WWE's been teasing the Dark Asuka return, the Kana from Japan. I think it'd be a cool direction if Alexa loses. Do you want to see Asuka return as a heel in WWE?
So I like Face Asuka, but I'm remembering like her previously, and she was so badass. And so I would love for them. I don't know how well they were really deep into that part of her because it's WWE, but I would love to see it. I saw a little bit of it. I got like really hyped about it. I was like, yes, I've been waiting just to see a little bit of what I knew you was before WWE, and so I would be okay with it if they do Dark Asuka and she's kind of back to really aggressive, just doing what needs to be done in the ring. And I do think she would give Alexa especially, a run for her money if we get that. So I'm all for Asuka. Again, I love Asuka either way, face or heel. But I do think, like, previously she was super like everything. So
Yeah.
I wouldn't mind seeing it again in WWE. I think they will probably tone it down a bit, but I would love to see it again.
For me, I'm not as familiar with it, so I would love to be introduced to it. So for me, I'd be quite excited about the prospect. I mean, you mentioned a couple of seconds ago when we started the stream, actually, that Royal Rumble, one of the biggest shows of the year after Wrestle Kingdom. So just kind of switching focus there. Would it be right in saying that you're quite a bit of a New Japan fan as well?
Yes, I'm. I might even say sometimes it rivals how I feel about WWE just because their style's a little different, and so it's something I just want to watch. I'm like, it can be a little long sometimes. New Japan fans, sometimes the matches can get a little long and a little long-winded, but I like that it's kind of just very hard-hitting, and it's just like, this is what it is. And there's little promos, but it's just kind of mostly wrestling focused, and so I'm a big fan of New Japan.
Yeah, I mean, I've got to say, I'm a casual fan for New Japan. If there's a Wrestle Kingdom, I'll go and have a look. I need to go and see what's going on that card. And this year, there certainly was some talking points, and we're mentioning ideas there of Asuka coming back, for example. My experience of seeing Asuka as a heel was a part of the Kabuki Warriors. Obviously, Kairi Sane has been something that's been rumored for the Women's Royal Rumble. We had a women's champion from Impact Wrestling, the Knockouts champion, Mickie James, last year. Could we get the IWGP Women's Champion in the Royal Rumble this year with Kairi Sane?
I mean, I would love that, actually. I would love if WWE decided, you know what, let's just bring it in. They've been doing a little bit more cross-branding, with having Shinsuke Nakamura do what, and not too much of a problem, not too much of a hassle. So I would love her to pop up just randomly, let her have a moment. She was in WWE previously as well, and she had moments, and unfortunately, she had to leave, but I would love that. Even if it's just for that one night, just to kind of see, kind of see some cross promotion there. I would absolutely love that. I think, we complain sometimes, but, WWE is pretty, I mean, I would say Impact is a little better with women as far as elevating the women, but WWE, especially more NXT, usually showcase the women very well. And so I would love to kind of also, we can get this to show in WWE, we can also kind of showcase the women's division that they're trying to build in New Japan. So I think it would be a win-win. So I would love to see that.
Absolutely, as I would there. And you mentioned NXT just for a minute. Did you see any surprise entrants potentially? Maybe something like a Cora Jade is someone that instantly screams to me as a potential one there. Maybe a Wendy Chu as well. With her character would really stand out in the Rumble as well. Someone said the idea yesterday that she'd go to the floor over the top rope, but the pillow is what saves her from being eliminated. Thought it was a really class idea. Whoever came up with that. Would you see any call ups that could happen potentially for this Royal Rumble?
I definitely do see. I do think Wendy's character works well with a Royal Rumble. You think of moments and spots and things like that's. I think that's whoever. I like that actually. I do see Cora Jade, even the rest of Toxic Attraction. Honestly, I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't even be surprised if we see Roxanne. Roxanne has been like I've been a fan of her before she got to WWE, and so the fact that she's champion now and all of this, even if it's not even a long moment, I think I can see her. I can even see Sol Roca. She's very athletic, and even though she hasn't been in NXT long, I think she would also be somebody who can give moments. So Royal Rumbles are great for like the winners, but it's also good for moments throughout the match, a moment that will stand out like 5 years from now. And she's very athletic, and she proved that at the Battle Royal NXT 2 weeks ago. And so I think I will be surprised if I see her even like an Alba Fire pop up in there, or even oh my God, what is her name? Miko
What a shout!
Like,
yeah.
Yes, I would love to see her, and I think she would really do some damage in the Royal Rumble. And so there's a few people I can kind of see pop up in the NXT, honestly.
Absolutely. I love the mention of Miko Sakamura would be fantastic for a Royal Rumble, the history, the legacy. Obviously, I was watching a lot of WCW on the network very recently. I know it's Peacock over there in the US, and we still blessingly get to keep the WWE network for now. But just seeing her go on Nitro, where she, it's like nearly 30 years ago, and she's still going strong today. Would love to see her as a surprise entrant in the Rumble. And also love you mentioned there's Sol Ruka as well. She's been a popular shout. Obviously, that finisher would be, like you said, it's one of them sort of big stand-up pop moments. So I really do love that. We'll move on then to a couple of predictions then for you. Then the Women's Royal Rumble match. Then what would be your take then? Who is going to be the winner?
I don't know. I'm feeling Rhea. I like she's been getting her moments with her, the Judgment Day. She was having her moments, but she's also been kind of having moments with the men. I wouldn't even be surprised if she popped up in the Men Royal Rumble, honestly. Kind of like Nia Jax did previously, just to get a moment. Somebody mentioned this, I think, on social media a few days ago, and I was like, I would love to see her and Randy Orton, because Randy is always the person you go to. You're gonna have a moment with another woman, have Randy in there, and so I would love to see that. But I do think Rhea Ripley is, like, for me, I just see her taking it, especially with the way Judgment Day has been kind of building, and just her by herself. I was a fan of her even before Judgment Day, and so I would love to see her win the Rumble. I actually see like that's somebody, and she can kind of maybe give Bianca. She's had issues with both Bianca and Charlotte. Also, he would have bring back the storytelling of the time that was that triple threat match. That time where it was like Charlotte went back down there. It was the three of them kind of dealing before. So you can kind of tie that back in at the Rumble as well if she wins it. So I can see Rhea taking it, honestly.
Yeah, I think that's a really good argument there. And like you said, there is previous history of all different ways that they could go down. So Rhea does make a lot of sense. It's been a very popular choice, and got to love it there. We've had a few people just tuning into the stream for the first time now. So let's get your take again on the Men's Royal Rumble and your pick there. For those just tuning in.
I feel like either Cody or Sammy. Cody, I feel like Cody again, because it's like such a big deal that he's coming back. Everybody was hyped that he made it back to WWE after him leaving and then going to AEW and stuff. But then I can also see Sammy causing like a lot of issues with his win with the Bloodline, since that story is still going on very strong about can they trust Sami Zayn. And so those are my picks.
Some great picks indeed there. And we are coming up to that point where someone needs to be eliminated from the stream, Katrina. And unfortunately, I'm the host, so I'm going to have to stick around for one more guest. But before I do let you go, could I ask you just to tell everybody where they can find you on social media, the YouTube stuff you're doing? Of course, you've got your own channel. You've been doing collaborations as well with other channels. Let everybody know where they can find you.
I'm on most social media platforms in Cat We Trust, TikTok, Twitter, and Instagram. The E is a 3. I do have my YouTube channel as well in Cat We Trust, which does have interviews. It has like pop culture, anime, horror, all that stuff, because I love many things. So definitely check that out. I'm in a process of rebranding a bit, and so things are changing slowly. But I do plan on having some new content actually and getting more interviews up there. So you guys can catch me there.
Absolutely. And I'm going to say as well, you've had the likes of Buddy Murphy, Deanna Peraza as well there previously. So there's definitely some names there, definitely worth going checking out. And I've got to say, Kat, it's been a long time coming. I've been so fortunate in the last 12 months of been able to get you on to do some cameos on this channel, but to actually have you here for a good stint. We can have a bit of talk, bit of a Q&A, bit of talk about the Royal Rumble. It's been a lot of fun. I hope we get to do something again in the near future.
Yes, I hope so too. I know the last couple of times totally slack. There's been a lot going on, but I always like collabing with you in other videos, and so this is a pleasure. Thank you for asking me.
Anytime indeed, though, and look up yourself, and we'll see you very soon. Thank you so much, Kat. And yeah, well, that's it for Kat, ladies and gentlemen, and we've got one more entrant that's going to be taking place right now, and we're going to need a countdown for it, and obviously we're going to need your questions again. But for one last time, let's go and count down together. We couldn't do a Royal Rumble without getting NXSTEVE in house to give his ticks, could we? How are you doing, my man?
Am I the number 30? Does this mean I'm the favourite to win, right? Coming in last, surely.
I've been here since the start, so I could be lagging at some point. I might need you to carry the last half an hour of this stream.
You're the Iron Man. You're the Edge. I'm the Randy Orton, right?
So is exactly how it's going. If we're going back to, was that 2021? That Rumble there is a good time indeed. But
it was, yeah, pandemic.
Oh God! Wow, the Thunderdome era. How are we feeling about this year's Royal Rumble?
Oh, super excited, man! Like, Rumble season is always the best time of year because it starts us off on the road to WrestleMania, and it's the most unpredictable match that WWE do every single year. I always look forward to it. It is my favorite pay-per-view of the year. So, super excited, super gassed. Can't wait to see what happens.
Yeah, me too. I've got to say, I mean, I've always been a big hype for the Royal Rumble. I've always enjoyed when we get to to watch retro rumbles, or just get yourselves in the mood for it, and then it comes to the show, and now we're spoiled. I know that sometimes two may be too many in one night, but I love the idea of the Royal Rumble. Those matches for me are like the standouts for the whole calendar year, and the most I get excited for a WWE match. And I mean, this year feels no exception. It feels there could be a lot of surprises in the house this year.
Yeah, I mean, with it being Triple H's first one, this could be something really special. I mean, just to ramble off quickly, like a couple of my favorite rumbles are 92 because it was the first ever pay-per-view event that I ever watched, and it was the one that got me into wrestling, so it has a special place in my heart. But then is it 2019 where Edge came back, and then obviously where Becky come in as well at the end and replaced Lana in as the last entrant in the Rumble. 2019 year Rumbles just absolutely smashed it for me. But with this being Triple H's first Rumble, anything can go, man. The thing I'm glad that they've done this year is they haven't told us who all the participants are, so there is a lot more mystery to it. I remember one year, a couple of years ago, where they put up the graphic like the week before, and it had like 27 of the 30 entrants, and I'm like, you've left nothing there for surprise. But they've done the right thing, kept it stum, and I say I'm really excited for this now. I can't wait for tomorrow.
Absolutely. Do you know what? I'm really happy about that as well, because when I've done Royal Rumble predictions yesterday, I only had to say 7 names. Last year, I did the graphic and I'd sort of rush through about 20 odd names in about 30 seconds. It was very difficult to keep up with. But like I say, ladies and gentlemen, there is a live Q&A. Thank you for still with us right now, and dropping your questions as well for NXSTEVE. Get his takes as we're going to go and talk about the Royal Rumble. I'll look to get some of his predictions as well. Any retro questions you want to ask also. I want to bring up, though, this comment that came in earlier on, because I said I was going to bring this in when you came on, because it just screams you from what Lewis has written here. He said, Rhea Ripley reminds me of China. Don't hate me for this comment, but I kind of want to see Rhea win the IC title one day. How are you feeling about that?
Absolutely. I've been saying it since the middle of last year. She is going to replicate China, and I want her to win the IC title. I can just see it happening, man. I mean, even Sean Waltman said it. Was it Sean Waltman? Someone I remember seeing, someone was saying that I would love to see it. And then I've seen other bigger YouTubers like What Culture. They turned around and even said, man, even I could see Rhea winning the IC title. It would be fantastic. But yes, for me, one day, absolutely, that's going to happen, man. It's got to. She is like one of the biggest stars that can go in there toe-to-toe with the men. And it's just been happening for weeks.
It really has been. And do you know what? Every time she stands up to them, it's like you just feel that she has a chance of like at holding her own. There's no doubt about it. She almost seems like the favorite in most of those matches.
Yeah, and that's the best part is that she's always got in the ring and been in there, and like she knows they're not going to do anything. So just to like, I'm not going to probably jump in early with this question that you were probably going to mention me, but if she's in the Rumble, the guys have free will to actually try and eliminate her, like they did with Nia Jax a couple of years ago, and I can see it happening. I mean, I would love to see it, man. I think it'd be absolutely great.
It would be a lot of fun if they did decide to do that. And obviously, she is advertised for the Women's Rumble, but to be in both Rumbles in both nights, it has happened previously. So maybe it could happen again. Jonesy has joined us. Jonesy, how are you doing? Thank you for joining us. And I mean, obviously, it's still time for Jonesy to get his picks in as well. Obviously, he wasn't with us on the prediction show yesterday. So, Jonesy, feel free to join in the chat as we go along as well. He's already got a couple of comments in saying, as someone who's been calling the Sami Zayn Daniel Bryan thing since September, cannot wait to see it pay off. Absolutely, it's been very exciting to see how that Sami Zayn storyline has developed. It would be very Daniel Bryan-esque if he was to pull the trigger. Sami Zayn was to win the Royal Rumble and get that big WrestleMania moment. Although I still think it's going to be with the tag team titles. I want Sami to have this. Sami should be for me. Do you think it just would be a beautiful moment of a long-term storytelling that has played out for us with the Bloodline with Sami over the last 9 months?
I think the plans for this keep changing every week because the narrative just keeps changing. Like I've been saying since Cody got injured that Cody should come back at the Rumble, win it, go on to face whoever at Mania. But since last Monday with the trial of Sami Zayn, man, to me, one of the best segments I've seen in WWE for a long time. And as soon as I watched that, and then the following tag match that happened, I'm like, nah, Sami's got to be the one to take the title from Roman now. I'm all changed now. Like, for me, Sami has to be the one. It just makes sense. I mean, what their whole thing is with their storyline with Roman and him this weekend at the Rumble and what's going to happen, I don't know. You see everything come up that Sami's going to turn on Jay or Roman's going to force Sami to turn on Jay or something like that, or cost them something. I don't know. But for me, it's got to be Sami, man. The story has just played off too well. And in the last week for me, I'm completely sold on it now. And that tag match was just so special.
It was indeed. The way they put that together was magical. DWE, Dan's got us a question. He says, do we think we'll have a Daniel Bryan 2014 situation if Sammy doesn't win this year? Of course, I believe Daniel wasn't even in the match in 2014 and there was riots of it. And he was actually eliminated in 2015. So, I mean, DWE here, like we said, that causes that much of a riot in 2014. Daniel Bryan actually ended up being the one that went to WrestleMania and winning the darn title. So, I mean, do you see that situation playing out if Sammy doesn't win it this year or is not even included?
I think it depends on what they do. It depends on how the Rumble plays out and particularly who's in the Rumble. Because if certain people are in the Rumble, you can see Sammy not winning it. If certain people aren't in the Rumble, Sammy has to win it because that crowd will absolutely riot. If he's in it and doesn't win, or even if he's not in it, it won't be as bad as him being in it and not winning. But still, he needs to be in it. He needs to win it if he's in it. I think. Not that that's my prediction, but if he's going to be in it and certain people aren't in it, he's got to be favourite to win, surely.
He's certainly going to be up there. He's definitely in the top 2 or 3 names, and that's including top names that we're talking about. There's people like Brock Lesnar, Bobby Lashley in this match, rumored names like The Rock as well, but yet Sami Zayn still ends up being in the top 2 or 3 names that I hear potentially win the Rumble. And of course, we know Rose to the Rumble is another one that seems to be a heavy favourite. We'll get your prediction just a little bit later on, but we go to the comments in the meantime. Jonesy, if WWE want to shock people, they should bring in Mercedes over Naomi. Controversial in a way that, for me, I would say shock people. Why not bring in both?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think she's actually signed with anyone, is she? I mean, is she signed with New Japan on a deal, or is she just doing dates, as far as we know?
She's doing, I don't know if it's dates or a contract, but she's going to do what is that show? Back to the Valleys or something?
New Japan Strong. Yeah, she's in one of the
Strong.
New Japan Strong. Yeah, that's where Rumble in the Valley or something like that.
Yeah.
I know she's doing that, but I don't know if she's actually signed to anywhere. But don't get me wrong, I don't think she would because I think her pure goal now is to sell herself as a brand. That's why she's trademarked her name and all this kind of stuff. I don't think she would come back to WWE as Sasha Banks. I think if she was going to come back, she'd come back as Mercedes. And I don't think WWE would do that at this precise minute.
No, absolutely not. But what I would just say is after everything that's happened with the rumours of Sasha Banks in the last 8 or 9 months, for her to then appear at New Japan, for then her to go to the alumni section of the WWE roster page, just think that if we've been thrown off and a what if. I mean, Jonesy, if it did happen, it's now going to shock a lot of people because everyone that thought, and there was a lot of people that said she weren't going to be coming back. Then there was a lot of people like myself who said, "Oh, she will come back." I even did a video at one point. It will be imminent. Yeah. I remember you were with me on that video, Steve.
And we've said it many times.
We said it many times, and it's not happened. So, what if? We're going to leave that what if there.
It'd be nice. Like, don't get me wrong, it would be one of them like all-time Rumble moments that they love doing. Like, but then I sit there and think, and this is the same for Naomi. I think at this point they're too big to be essentially Rumble entrants. Like, if Naomi comes back, yes, I'd love her to come back. Would I want it to be a Royal Rumble entrance? No, because I think that the way that she left, she deserves to come back in a bigger dynamic and a bigger story. So she needs to come back like a heel Naomi, because I don't think we've ever actually seen a heel Naomi on WWE TV. So bring her back in her own story and in her own way. Don't just make her, unless they bring her in the Rumble and she wins it by some crazy fortuitous luck. But I don't reckon that's what they're going to go for Mania. I would just want her to personally come back and have a story about her and her return, be a heel. I don't know, do whatever they want to do with her, but I think it should be a bigger moment than just a Royal Rumble entrance, as much as it would be a nice surprise.
It would be a lovely surprise. I mean, for me, I'd like it to be the start of perhaps maybe getting Naomi to be a part of the bloodline. It was something that was definitely a hot topic earlier on in this stream. Would you like to see that potentially go down?
I'm okay with it, but for like I just said, for me, I'd rather it just be about her. I think like if you just put her in the bloodline, without her redemption story and her comeback story, it's kind of almost meaningless, and then she just ends up being a member of the bloodline. I'd rather her come back, have a run as champion again at some point, then maybe transition into joining the bloodline. I'd prefer it that way, just because then that way she gets more of a spotlight back on her. And like you even said, even if they did something crazy like make her a heel, even try to push her as a top heel, it'd be a new dynamic for Naomi. I think it'd be something exciting to see.
Absolutely, indeed. There, Jonesy has got quite a few comments in, so we'll go through some of those next there. But if we see some fresh names, feel free to put some questions in. We will mix it up as well. Jones says his prediction here is Bianca leaving with the belt. She never loses. Alexa to be distracted by Uncle Howdy. Does seem to make a lot of sense. I tell you what, we'll throw that in as well then with your first prediction. I know I've got listed as match 3, but that's how I had the matches listed. But what would be your take on it? And do you agree with that prediction?
It's almost getting to the point where it's Lol Cena wins with Bianca Belair because she just doesn't seem to lose. Don't get me wrong, they're doing great and making her into a massive star, which is what they should be doing. But at some point, she's got to lose. Whether it's now, I don't know. I don't think it will be. I personally think Bianca will retain. I don't know if Alexa Bliss is the right person to take it off, but for me, it just feels at the minute that Raw division doesn't have a top heel to come in and take that title off of her. Everyone seems to be on SmackDown at the minute. You got Charlotte over there, she's supposed to be some sort of face, but she is a heel. Ronda's over there. Sasha and Shayna's over there. A lot of the heels are over there. And more of the faces. The only sort of big heel you've got on Raw is Bayley at the minute. Maybe Rhea, depending if she wants to get involved with that storyline. But yeah, I think if going towards Mania wise, it's going to be Belair retaining this, and she's going to go to carry it all the way to Mania. I feel.
Yeah, I agree with you. I feel that at this point, it feels like it's not right for Bianca to lose the belt this close. But yeah, we'll have to wait and see. You never know. I guess you never can say never when it comes to anything in WWE. But Jonesy says Bray has to win. So I mean that leads to another comment that's come flying as well. Pitch black match. Bray drinks Mountain Dew, and this leads to him seeing other things in the match. Could it be some fireflies? Could it be something like that? Could we see some puppets involved here? We've seen the Firefly Funhouse come back recently. Are we going to see some teasers of what could finally be a White Six or a Fiend character or Uncle Howdy or something? Tom Connie suggested anyone in this stream was the first guest, perhaps even a Howdy Six rather than a Wyatt Six.
I'll be honest with you, I'm beginning to get really bored of this. I am, to be honest with you, aside from what happened on Raw 30, I feel really bad for LA Knight because this guy deserves a lot more at the minute. And this character with Bray just seems to be flat. Like the fact that they've gone back to bringing back the Firefly Funhouse with no kind of real explanation. Like I get the point that there is a long build and a long tease and story building and all this kind of stuff, but it's like I'm genuinely getting bored of seeing what's happening with these two now. I mean, this is another one of them. What was it? It was what was the zombie match from last year that everyone hated but I loved?
The WrestleMania Backlash one, Priest and Miz one.
That's it. Yeah, the zombie lumberjack match. Like everyone hated it. I thought it was great, to be fair, but so I could be completely wrong about this. Like this could be an absolutely fantastic thing because it's one of them endorsement matches, but I think LA Knights are going to do something better now. I just feel he's being wasted doing whatever with Bray Wyatt. I don't even know what Bray Wyatt knows what he's doing at the minute, but yeah, it's just dragging on, and I need it to end.
I think I would hope that with the LA Knight stuff, it'll probably end around here. But one thing I would say positively about it, LA Knight has been put in a position with a former world champion in Bray Wyatt, in fact, multiple-time world champion. He shared the ring or the arena with The Undertaker this past Monday on Raw. Didn't look out of place to me. He carried their mic pretty well.
LA Knight that guy has got over the word yeah. That's how good he is, man. And like I said, he deserves to be in a better position. When they brought him in as Max Dupree, I was like, oh my God, you've killed this guy. He got so over in NXT, and then obviously Vince got his hands on him and decided to do that. But we get a restart of LA Knight, and I can't wait to see what he goes on to do because how long he's been in the business, man. I'm really excited to see what he can do on WWE. Absolutely.
And as much as I enjoyed the catchphrase, titillating the juices of my guilty pleasures, there's nothing better than a yeah or let me talk to you. Those things to me scream, they scream the megastar that LA Knight actually is. But let's quickly get your prediction in Bray Wyatt or LA Knight.
Oh, it's going to be Bray, isn't it? Just because. No, do you know what? Actually, no. I'm going to say LA Knight. Bray's too obvious. I think LA Knight deserves the win, especially after Bray. I'm going to go with the old Vince McMahon theory, the old Raw before the pay-per-view showing that the fact that Bray stood tall. I'm going to say LA Knight wins this.
I like it. But do you know what? You're not the only one to say LA Knight, and someone suggested
really?
that instead of Howdy costing Alexa Bliss, maybe howdy cost Bray Wyatt. There's definitely some ideas on there that perhaps maybe it's not going to be all roses, let's just say, for Bray Wyatt. He's had a very conflicting story to this point, a very long, slow, conflicting story to this point, I would agree. But hopefully the penny is going to drop somewhere. We're going to go, oh, there we are, that bit and that bit and that bit. They all connect.
Yeah,
and
just
it's
hopefully,
genius.
hopefully.
We'll wait and see. We'll wait and see. But I'm going to get one more match from you just now very quickly because I don't think it's going to take you too long to predict this one. Roman Reigns versus Kevin Owens.
Kevin Owens. I didn't start Kevin Owens. He's going to win this.
You're going for KO.
He's going to win via disqualification, and Roman's going to stay champ.
I like it. I like it. Do you know what? First person to say Kevin Owens, but do you know what? I actually can see where you're coming from with that. Interesting.
It's going to be. That's what I feel it's going to be. Because then hopefully, like, are they still doing Elimination Chamber between now and Mania?
They are.
They are. It gives Kevin an excuse to be in a chamber match, maybe, or whatever they're planning on doing with it. But yeah, I think that Kevin Owens will win. It's going to just be shades of how Seth beat Roman at the Rumble last year. I think that Kevin Owens will win via DQ, and Roman will stay champ.
I do like the idea. Do you know why? Because I had this vision of how I think the match would play out, that Sammy would get involved in this match, looking to try and help Roman, perhaps the referee's down or whatever, trying to hit the hula kick on Kevin Owens, but maybe Roman is pulled in the way instead, so the kick goes to Roman, and it's kind of, oh my God, what have I done? What have I done? And at least a bit of friction afterwards. But if Sammy just gets Roman DQ'd and KO gets another match, and the conspiracy stuff going around, you start getting the tribal court stuff being brought back into this.
Sammy will push Kevin out of the way and receive a spear from Roman. No, that won't work because then he won't be DQ'd for that. No, that won't work.
He won't get DQ'd, but certainly.
I'm trying to think.
Loyalty though could be fun.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah, something like that, crazy like that will happen. It will end up being that way. But yeah, I think Kevin Owens will win, and I think it just needs to be there just to add more to the whole bloodline thing with Sami Zayn. I think that'll be how it works.
Absolutely, yeah. Do you know what? The first person to say KO is to say, but I'll tell you what, I like the logic behind it. Something a bit different. And if you're the one that gets it right, everyone else got it wrong. Nubico, I mean, Priest fought the zombies like a beast. He certainly did. Priest has actually gone to do some pretty good things, actually, in WWE. Jonesy asking, who do you guys see the Usos to face at Mania? If it's not Sami and KO, the Usos are holding these titles until FTR come back. Facts.
As much as I predicted Sammy and Kevin taking them titles off of them, I can't see it happening now. I think they may actually lose them before. I think that I don't know. I just think that they won't carry them into May. I think something's got to build with, again, this whole bloodline story. I reckon they could possibly lose it before. If they do still have it, I don't know, someone crazy. Let's go. I'm trying to think of a random team I could throw together. Oh no, do you know what it should be? I reckon it should be a fatal 4-way. Throw Imperium in there, throw the Brawling Brutes in there, and why not throw Drew and Sheamus in there as well and just do a fatal 4-way. Just like get as many names on the card, I feel, for that one.
Absolutely. Imperium were a shout given earlier on this evening on the stream as well. They'd take the Usos out. So certainly it's not the first opinion of that. Imperium definitely getting over pretty well. Jonesy, for me, I can't imagine a world where it's not Sami and KO, if I'm honest. So just look at that story and see this week, who saved Sami in the Trouble Court? It was the Usos. It was Jey Uso. And it's them that's standing by his side. When something happens there where they realize they have to turn their back on Sami at some point, that is going to hurt. Or if they realize that perhaps the trust has been broken via Sami leaving the bloodline. Oh, I mean, it just builds that story up so perfectly for me. So I can't see it being anybody else. But if I have to quickly give a name, I'll say DIY.
Yeah, it's a great shout. I'd love to see Ciampa come back at the Rumble. I don't know when he's due back, but man, I'm missing Ciampa and I want to see him back. But this could actually work out in the whole way. Like I said, if Roman's test for Sami at the Rumble is something, maybe it can be, like I said earlier, that I've heard that he takes out Jey. This then causes the split between Sami and Jey, and then Roman then, I don't know, then this plays into the match with Kevin Owens and Roman Reigns, and Sami then turns on Roman, and then we get the whole build-up of the Usos. But there needs to be a Roman and Sami match somewhere for this to pay off, for this to be that tag team match to work at Mania.
perhaps that's the Elimination Chamber match, maybe, or not the Chamber match itself, but the championship match in Montreal. Perhaps this is certainly is fitting for definitely a challenger of a KO or a Sammy on that show. Jonesy going to say, I feel they must have a huge shock lineup considering they revealed Cody in the match, still hanging on to The Rock turning up, but cannot see it. So is The Rock coming or is The Rock not coming? What's your take on it?
Jonesy texted me this the other day, and I turned around and said to him, I very much don't see it happening. If it does, I will be massively impressed and massively surprised and massively overwhelmed with it all. I think it'll be amazing. I just don't think it's going to happen.
Okay, that's interesting because for me, I was kind of the same. I felt like to myself that I was all in for The Rock to come back. I thought if he's going to come back, this is the menu to do it. But unfortunately, we've been fed all this stuff this last sort of week or two. To be fair, Tom's been saying it for a while that The Rock's not going to be there. So I start to now feel to myself like, well, we had it from one source. Now we've had it from a number of sources. And I don't know, I just feel to myself, maybe The Rock does have too much going on, but maybe that's a nice thing to feel because if we can't see it and The Rock does turn up, I mean, it's not John Cena, we usually can't see him, but if it's The Rock that turns up, I mean, we're going to blow our minds, aren't we? We're literally going to be like, God, The Rock's here, and it's actually going to set up for me. Yes, it makes it kind of obvious straight away that The Rock is winning, but at the same time, just that pop and that electricity. I mean, as was mentioned yesterday by Tino, have we noticed that there's all electricity on the poster of the Royal Rumble poster, the poster we're seeing? Is that there for a reason?
The only thing I can think is it plays into the Rumble match as well. Like, let me rephrase that. The certain aspects of other matches will then carry on over into the Rumble, which will then lead to The Rock coming back. But I've always said that these two, Rock and Roman, don't need titles. It shouldn't have titles because you're just taking away from the draw from other matches. So, for instance, if they manage to get these two titles off, they just really honestly don't need them on Roman. This is, again, even John Cena and The Rock had it, but it's one of those matches. This is essentially would be a blood feud. It wouldn't need a title involved in it. So, again, it just depends on what happens in the Rumble. That's why I don't even know how the match card's going to play out. Whether you're going to have, I presume the men's Rumble will go on last.
Feels like that way.
Maybe. That's what normally happens. I presume that's what will happen. Like I can't see the heavyweight championship match with Kevin Owens going on last. They just said it just depends on who's in the Rumble.
I feel like that match goes on first if I had to predict now.
It's a good shout. It is a good shout because it's normally because he's starting to take that Brock Lesnar theory that if I ain't on last, I'm going on first.
And he did last year as well against Seth, and the men then actually main evented the show. It just, it's just an interesting question. Actually, this is not something in our comments that I've seen anyway to this point. If anyone has asked it, apologies. We'll give you a shout out when we get to it. But I just feel a little bit like sometimes with some years you turn around and say, I know that the women haven't main evented with the Royal Rumble for a while, but with so much speculation, the idea that Cody coming back, that's a big deal. We main evented when he was last there. Feels like it's a big thing. We've got talks of the likes of, Lesnar now potentially being in the Rumble. We've got rumors of Steve Austin, The Rock, John Cena. What if we get Logan Paul coming back in there and all these other names coming into the Royal Rumble? It does just feel that it's right that the men main event this year, doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it's always the same thing with WWE. It's whatever the biggest story going at the minute is. So, of course, it's Bloodline.
Yeah,
of course, it's going to have to be if that's what's selling the making people buy the tickets. And it's what people want to see. People want to see Sami Zayn win the Rumble, for God's sake. So the men's Rumble will go on last. I'm pretty sure the women went last in 2019 when Becky come out and won. I'm pretty sure that was the main event that year. So it is whatever is the biggest story at the time. Unfortunately for me, the women's Rumble doesn't really have any major consequences outside of like the Rumble itself. Like there's no other major stories that are being implemented into the Rumble, whereas the Bloodline is being implemented in it. You've got Cody Rhodes coming back being implemented, the likes of The Rock. With the women's Rumble, we're going to get a couple of NXT's superstars in there. We're going to get a couple of legends come back, but there's nothing that's at the minute making it the sole focus of the pay-per-view, which is why the men will go on last, unfortunately. But like I said, there's always next year, and they can always flip it next year. It just depends on what the biggest story is at the time.
Totally agree with that. It's a great answer there. And just leads to one further question. I'll go back to the comments then. Does WWE need to do more then with their women's division? Do they need to make it a bit more high profile with some of the stories going on? Can we start perhaps building a Becky versus Ronda feud in the Rumble? Could Bianca somehow magically lose her championship early in the night and turn up and be a big contender at the end? Could we see friction with Damage Control? Could we get things like that could actually just improve the overall storytelling, because this past week on Raw we saw Bailey and Becky bumped with their cage match that was supposed to have proper time on Raw 30. It was bumped for a DX comedy spot. In the end, it felt really with everything going on, the Bloodline stuff overrunning on time. We're not getting lots of women's matches at the moment, and do you think WWE could improve?
With everything that went on with Monday, the fact that some of the stuff that still got through on and was aired over that cage match was a bit ridiculous. Like I felt the Charlotte, Bianca, Sonya Deville thing dragged out too long. The whole DX thing with Imperium dragged out too long. There was other things that you could have cut in that. The fact that this was meant to be a blood feud finale between Bailey and Becky, I suppose, yes, you could say it should be saved for a bigger event like a pay-per-view or whatever. I expect to see this match at Chamber or see it at Mania, whatever's coming up. But yeah, what you said, there's not a lot of women's wrestling on TV at the minute. Yes, maybe someone does need to kick up the backside in creative and just be like, right, we need to start focusing. But then this is the problem we've been saying for ages. People are starting to go stale on Bianca because she's been champ for 300 plus days. She needs to lose that title at some point. Don't get me wrong. She's had stuff going on outside of WWE that I suppose being champ has really helped her with. Like she just won, was it a bodybuilding competition a month or so ago? She won something to do with that. So there's certain things that why having her as champ is a good thing, but you need to start doing something. Like, I'm sorry, I'm not Ronda's biggest fan. Putting Ronda as SmackDown champ doesn't work for me. Charlotte coming back and winning the SmackDown title on her first night back doesn't work for me. I just think that there's other women in that locker room that deserve a better chance. Like you did this whole reboot, you did the whole thing with Liv Morgan, then you decided to have her lose, then restarted Liv Morgan again, and then she's just disappeared again. I mean, I can't even remember last time I saw Piper Niven. I imagine she'll be in the Rumble, but like, when was the last time we saw Piper Niven? I used to call her Dewdrop because it's just a stupid name and they need to get rid of it. But yeah, it's just, I would like to think that someone will finally get a kick up the backside. But unfortunately, Bloodline is the biggest story at the minute, so it is the biggest narrative going forward. But they do need to start getting more of the women on TV. Raquel Gonzalez, since she's come up, has done barely anything.
Absolutely, yeah.
Rodriguez, I don't know which name she is.
Rodriguez, yeah. I mean, it's easy to go back to Gonzalez, but Rodriguez is what they've been going with for the last year. But literally, like you mentioned, a good point there with Piper Niven as well. I believe I'm quoting this. I've not watched the full interview stuff. I've not even watched the full details, but I believe that the reasons why she's not been on TV have been explained. I believe it was an interview with Denise Salcedo, which I believe is on her social media, which I think people could go and check out. I believe that illness, I want to even say COVID is what's pulled her off of TV for a while. There was a few medical checks on her, so I think that's why she's been away. But if she can come back and she can go back to the Rumble, that would be a nice pop and a nice moment. Would love to see her there. We're going to go through some of the comments. We're going to catch up with our chat now. Jones says, I'm positive this premium live event will be better than last year's Royal Rumble, which was the worst one in history. I mean, yeah, it definitely is one of the worst ones. But for me, 95 and 2015 still stand as quite bad ones as well. Might take away the Shawn Michaels and Bulldog moment at the end. That Royal Rumble was horrific.
The one I said where you gave away 27, the entrance, I was like, why am I even bothering watching this? This was the one, I can't remember what it was, but I know it was in the last 10 years. Year. No, there was another one before as well. But who won last year's Rumbles? I can't even remember. It was what?
The
Brock
UFC
Lesnar,
yeah,
Brock Lesnar, and trash, absolute trash. But like I said, Triple H is in charge this time. Hopefully, I beg these will be a lot better than last year's. I just expect some absolute craziness to go on with these. Like the amount of people that are free agents at the minute that can easily come into WWE and just make a surprise in the Rumble. I'm just so gassed for this pay-per-view. It's going to be unreal.
I got told earlier in the stream, but I've not been able to verify this. So if anyone that's watching can verify this for me. Did Jay White lose the Loser Leaves New Japan match? Some are suggesting that Jay White lost the match to Hikuleo, which for me, I'm shocked about if that's the case, because there were rumors that WWE was interested in Hikuleo. So if he's the one sticking around New Japan and Jay White is available, Jonesy actually did call it to me the other day, saying that would we see Jay White in the Royal Rumble? Certainly could be a much stronger possibility. I want to make sure I just mix up the comments a little bit here. So we've got DWE here. Drew and Sheamus should win the tag titles of the Usos. They could move to win that SmackDown tag team tournament that's going on at the minute. But certainly the Bang Bros is no longer a thing, of course, due to the reports that have come out today, learning that Bang Bros is a thing and it's a porn company. So WWE do not want the links between the two. That certainly was an entertaining story that I read earlier today. Nubiko say, do you think that Asuka will return to the Women's Rumble, possibly at number 30 and face Charlotte Flair, because Asuka's character change is a storyline and it might be connected to Charlotte as a face? A very interesting question. I'd like to get your take on it, NXSTEVE.
Charlotte Flair. Sorry, Asuka has just always been. She's always either doing really, really well. Pandemic era Asuka was the best. She was the face that carried the women's division, and it's just maybe a character change. Like I know you was talking with Katrina just before about her New Japan stint, or sorry, her is it Joshi wrestling over there?
Yeah,
where she
Stardom and
was.
stuff.
Yeah, where she was that alter ego. I mean, I would love to see that. It would be something different. I think it'd just be a new way to present her as a character because, like we've said before, this whole don't get me wrong, the whole argument she had with Io Sky in the ring that time, Japanese, was fantastic. But there is obviously that communication barrier between the crowd and her. So if you ever come out as this strange heel character, like I'm the same as you, never seen a lot about it, it could be really interesting. But do we really need to see Asuka versus Charlotte again at Mania? Because it will probably wind up the same as last time with Charlotte winning. So I honestly don't know. I just putting that title on Charlotte just didn't make sense for me.
I think for me, I'd be down. I want to say because I sort of half answered the question earlier, but need to give an official full-on answer for me. I would be fine with this happening, but the only way I'd actually be fine with it happening is if Asuka comes away the winner in the end. Because, like you said, the same result as last time. Then it does seem like why. But for me, I do agree. Their careers have been always intertwined in some way in WWE. They have that fight forever feel like we've had with KO and Sammy with other people in the past. So Asuka and Charlotte Flair have that. If they want to go full circle with the story with roles reversed, I'm down and I'm here for it, but I want the right result at the end. That would be my final take on that.
Sorry, just an update about the Jay White Hikuleo thing. Apparently the match isn't even until February 11th.
Then it's not happened yet, has it? No.
So it's not happened yet. So yeah, I don't know. But then again, we did just send Shinsuke Nakamura over there to face the Great Muta. So, you know, maybe New Japan want to do us a favor and send Jay White. I wouldn't say no to that.
Well, absolutely not. I mean, obviously, Carl Anderson was at Wrestle Kingdom, so I mean, that would be a good way of giving things back. I think Kairi Sane could be a shout potentially for the Women's Royal Rumble in a return for that. She'd be part of Stardom, but also the IWGP Women's Champion at this point. Going to take on Mercedes Moné, of course, next month as well. We've been talking about already. But obviously, yeah, like you said there, Pro Wrestling Noah there. Could you imagine the Great Muta never been in WWE, just making that cameo in the Rumble? I know he's had these last matches, the Great Muta, just a few days ago in a 6-man tag with Sting and Darby Allin, but just an appearance in the Royal Rumble would be so darn awesome.
Yeah, I think it would just be a nice touch of class and respect from WWE to show someone like the Great Muta, just to have him in there. Even if he's only in there for 5 minutes and he gets eliminated by someone like, I don't know, Otis or someone like that. Do you know what I mean? Just like, or even someone with a bit of credibility, I suppose, just to show a bit more respect. Like, I don't know, Roman Reigns is, yeah, just someone, yeah. But then for me, AJ Styles is in the ring. Finn Balor's in the ring. They're face to face. The countdown clock starts. Boom, the Switchblade, Jay White comes out. 3 leaders of the Bullet Club, all standing in a WWE ring. Mate, I'm sold already.
Yeah, book it. Sold. Book it indeed. There's so many magical moments we could get from this Royal Rumble. I would be certainly down for all of that if it was to happen. But Jonesy goes to say, I'm surprised how quiet this return has been. Edge is an easy one. Do we see Ray and Dom entering 1 and 2? He can see that. Who do you see as 1 and 2?
As much as I don't want to see it, Cody could be a shot. I reckon he could go for Iron Man this year. If not, someone like probably Dolph Ziggler, because Dolph Ziggler loves doing an Iron Man stint in some of these pay-per-views. Or if not, it's going to be someone like The Miz and someone, I don't know. But yeah, Cody would be, for me, would be a good shout for him to go Iron Man.
My answer yesterday was
just for that injury.
Yeah,
just because of the injury and like show of I'm back and I'm strong and I can go 60 minutes in the Rumble.
The Pyro as well. The Pyro for the magical man. But I said Seth at number 1, Cody at number 2. That was my pick yesterday for it because you then have that stare down. You have the same as the WrestleMania as well, which was brought up in the comments. But also the other shout that was discussed as well yesterday was the idea of Brock Lesnar being number 1, Bobby Lashley being number 2. And instead of like 2020 where Lesnar destroyed about 13 people, Lashley eliminates him before we get to entry number 3. Lesnar destroys Lashley, throws him over the top rope, and that's how we start building to the rest of the Rumble. Those 2 already ruled out, and we can go forth. So there's lots of different ideas, but I like the idea of Ray and Dom as well. I think that could be a lot of fun because Ray doesn't want to fight Dom. How does we avoid that for the first 90 seconds?
The only thing I think is Cody's got to be one of the first 2 just because of his entrance and the pyro and everything. And it's a long entrance, and they ain't going to do it on a. It's only 2 minutes between the next entrance. He'll still be doing his entrance by the time the next one comes out. But yes, it's not a bad shot of Rey and Dom. As for Bobby and Brock, I think those two are just going to grapple each other and just hold each other and tumble over the top rope together and just eliminate each other at the same time. It'd be something stupid like that.
Yeah, would be the perfect hug if they did that indeed. But I do like the idea of Rey and Dom. I think that'll be very interesting how they're playing the storytelling. Perhaps Judgment Day would eliminate Rey before we get to entrant number 3, and trying to carry Dom to be the Iron Man of the Royal Rumble could be a lot of fun. Of course, he'd done a stint in prison, you know. They've been really selling that the last few weeks on Raw, and I think they could really make a fun bit of storyline narrative with that as well. So Jonesy, loving that creativity. Roman to win is his other prediction. Men's Cody Rhodes, women's is real. Let's see how wrong he will be. Loving those predictions, Jonesy. Thank you for giving those to us. We will get NXT's Rumble predictions as we go through the stream. I wanted to see if we got any other comments that come through. We've got some others there as well. Tom COLOHUE is back with us. Tom, thank you very much. I do have you actually at the end of the stream now for people to go to your video, but they can go to it from the start at least now. It wouldn't necessarily be a raid at this point, but certainly Jay White advertised to wrestle Eddie Kingston on February 18th. There is no Jay White, it seems, unless it is a one-time deal. That's the only way it'd be. But if we do get a Switchblade, I know we'd get a very happy Tom indeed. Jonesy says Priest zombie match was funny for all the wrong reasons. The way the Miz got nearly killed, attacked by zombies, and was untouched the next night on Raw. For me, yeah, it's
Exactly. That's what it was great. It was fantastic. Come on, you tell me you didn't laugh at it. It was amazing.
I cried. I'm not gonna lie. It just wasn't my cup of tea. I did have a laugh. I did have a laugh on watching it, but it was if you'd have that as a regular singles match, for me that show was a 9 out of 10 without that match, and for me it did bump it down on my review. I remember being very critical of it at the time, but I'm being open-minded with a lot of W's promotion.
You're right, because the other 4 matches on that card were absolute bangers, and that match was terrible, but I felt its placement and it broke down the 2 matches either side of it. I thought it was great. It was just there to kill some time and just like bring mind you, it was just there to bring the crowd back a little. But yeah, I just thought it was great. I loved it.
There you go, fair play. I mean, look, I'm the guy who liked the Pizza Hut stuff at Survivor Series, so I mean, you know,
that was terrible, man.
Yeah, apparently. Well, I wanted pizza. I tried reaching out for it. It went to a couple of rows in front of me. The Usos do the places about a newly formed head shrinkers consisting of Solo and Jacob Fatu. Book it. I saw a scoop actually earlier today. I want to remember where it was from now. I always forget where the sources are for after this stuff. But the idea that apparently there could be a cease and desist of MLW to WWE for talking to contracted talent. I don't know how true that rumor would be. So allegedly will go for me speaking at this particular moment. Jacob Fatu, I'd imagine, would have been one of them for Raw this past week.
I love Jacob Fatu.
He definitely
so good.
He would be so good, and it would be a lovely fit in WWE as well. Gunther to be the Iron Man match of the Royal Rumble seems like a good shout. I'm going to go Cody, probably Cody and Seth at this point. Do you feel the same?
Cody and Seth, yeah. I'm going to go with your prediction. I'm going to go say that as well. I reckon Seth and Cody 1 and 2. Seth first, Cody number 2, and they're going to go the distance. They're going to be in the last 5.
I like it. DW, I feel WWE just don't have enough established women in their division to build such a huge match around them. I think that's a fair comment from what's going on. Obviously, they have the women there, but established, they've not been booking them strong enough in the weekly TV going along. And perhaps that's maybe why at this moment that's not the main event Royal Rumble match of the 2.
I feel WWE have shot themselves in the foot as well with how many women they've brought back as recently. Like they've recently just brought back Tegan Knox. They recently brought back Emma, and it's like you've brought back these 2 really good superstars that have done like Emma especially has done really well outside of WWE since she left. Tegan obviously hasn't done anything, but has come back, and Emma loses her first match. Yes, all right, it was a championship match against Ronda Rousey, but Tegan's not been doing anything. It's just like they just seem to be bringing back all these characters and they're just doing absolutely nothing with them. So they have the talent. It's just getting them to do something with them all. And that's why I've always said that it's almost like WWE need their own TV show for a women's division, just so that it's all women. Like have the men on Raw and SmackDown, NXT's your developmental. Then you've got a 4th show that is just purely for the women, because in that way you could get more of the women on TV.
They certainly deserve more TV time. For me, I still would just like to get more time on Raw SmackDown. That'd be the way. They've got 5 hours of TV. Like, you know, I find it hard to keep up with all the wrestling we've got as it is. Yeah. But I get your case and argument We need to find a way to get them more TV time, and certainly whatever way means to do so. Josie says, can you imagine a Royal Rumble final 2 of Cody and Sammy? Roman comes out to add to the drama. Wonder who he would want to win. Yeah, I mean, it would be very interesting. I mean, I imagine he would want Sammy to win just because he would imagine Sammy then would show his loyalty to the bloodline. But certainly a lot of people suggested Cody and Sammy being the final 2 in the Rumble. I mean, of course, providing there's not a Rock, I think that there's a strong possibility that could be the final 2.
I don't think it will be the final 2.
Mm.
Do you want me to give you my prediction now for the Rumble?
Yeah, you can do. That's. I'm going to get the banners up. So let's get. We're doing the men's, are we?
You're doing the men's, yeah. The reason why I don't think Cody will be in the final 2, I don't think he's going to win it for starters. I think it has to be Sammy. Just has to be. They can't do what they did to Batista a couple of years ago and have him win and just have the crowd completely, have Cody win it and have the crowd completely boo all over him on his return. Just doesn't make sense for me. So I don't think Cody will be in the final 2. I reckon it's going to be Roman and Cody in the finals. Roman and Sammy in the final 2. Or it's going to be some iteration. Like if The Rock comes back, The Rock could eliminate Roman or somehow. But if Sammy's going to win, Sammy needs to be against someone who is an out-and-out heel that if they, for instance, were to win, like a Brock Lesnar, so whoever the biggest heel is in the company at the minute, I don't know who that is. But if you was to have Sammy lose that, if he's in the final 2 and he loses, that crowd will boo the hell out of that building, and it will kill all the momentum. Like, don't get me wrong, they'll probably do something creative with the story and like on the Raw the next night, on the Monday following, and it will be all done. But I just honestly can't see Cody being the final 2 if Sammy's going to win it. My prediction is Sami Zayn, and that's why I can't see Cody being the final 2.
I think it's a very interesting philosophy. And I said Sammy should win it. So, but I'll give my quick take on it, just what you've gone with there. I think that Sammy accidentally in the final 5 or 6, you have the bloodline still there, the 4 members without Roman, and you see Sammy accidentally eliminate Jey Uso, which upsets the other 2 members. It upsets Jimmy, upsets Solo. So they sort of turn on Sammy. Sammy may get the better of Jimmy, but then he doesn't get the better of Solo, and Solo eliminates Sammy. Perhaps it could even be a case of where it was like a 4-on-1 or 4-on-2 advantage, and Cody is the guy that's left, and it's Cody and Solo or someone like that in the final 2. I do agree, though, perhaps a big established name, but Solo for me, I think is going to be a standout in this Rumble. I think he's going to be the one with the most eliminations. What
about, for instance, you've got Jay, Jimmy, Solo, Sammy as 4 of the final 5. In the process of eliminating the 6th from last person, Sammy accidentally eliminates Jay. Jimmy and Solo turn on Sammy, eliminate him, and then that brings out The Rock as the 30th entrant. The Rock comes in and takes out both Solo and Jimmy, and then The Rock wins the Rumble and goes on to face Roman.
I like it. That's a very good way to do it. If I could tweak what I said a minute ago, I like the idea of what you said there of eliminating Sammy, but as a 4-on-1, a 4-on-2, say Cody and Seth have been at it the whole match, but then they realize at this point they need to team up together to remain in the Rumble match. That's the way they end up being the final 2. That could be a fun way to do it as well there. But I love your predictions there. Love your predictions. Let's get your prediction in for the Women's Royal Rumble. We can just go through the chat then, and we can close things up, because we're becoming the Undertaker and Shawn Michaels of end of Royal Rumbles. We're going quite a distance.
For me, unfortunately, I'm going to sound like a broken record, and the only person it's either going to be, for me, it's probably going to be Rhea Ripley. Rhea Ripley is my prediction. It's probably going to be Rhea, though, or if not, someone like Bayley or Becky, but I just think it's Rhea's turn. Rhea did fantastic last year, year before. I know it was last year against Bianca. Absolutely smashed it out the park, went the distance, got down to the final 2. But this is Rhea's year. Rhea needs to win that Rumble now. She has earned it, and I want her to go on. I want it to be Bianca versus Rhea at Mania, because I think the Rhea deserves it.
Absolutely, yeah. Rhea is a very popular shout, and it'll be interesting to see if she does do it or not. But let's round off then. Go on.
Just to add one thing to Cody as well. If Cody doesn't win the Rumble, that's because he's going to win Money in the Bank.
I like that, and I think that would be a fair assessment as well if that wasn't to be the case there. But let's go back into the comments there. Jones said last year Rumble we knew Ronda and Brock were winning it 4 days before. It's not enough when spoilers get out. Yeah, but thankfully it doesn't feel as spoiled this year. Maybe some may say predictable, but definitely not spoiled. Jones says it makes sense for me that Reigns to make Sammy enter the Rumble to stop anyone else winning. As for the rest of the bloodline, Sammy wins and blows the roof off. This makes Reigns even more cocky. Certainly could be the case indeed, and I think that definitely would be a fun way to do it as well. Jonesy said, can we do a watch party sometimes of that zombie match, please? That could be fun to review. I actually have decided that I'd like to start doing the watch alongs in places, but rather than full shows, matches could be a fun way to go. This definitely could be something that we could look into because it's not the longest match in the world. We could get the 3 of us in there, and I think that regardless of regardless if you think you like it or you don't, it's going to be a fun time to do it. And if everyone else that's involved with this wants to see it and they would watch it along the same time in the comments getting involved, let us know if that's something you'd like us to do, because maybe we can actually do that and make that a thing on the channel. Maybe say, I don't know, once a month maybe, or maybe once every couple of weeks. We could perhaps be something we could look into doing, because that could be a lot of fun. So Jonesy, love that suggestion. Joseph says a good Rumble that could start feud of the two. You can eliminate me from the Rumble. I want revenge. Settle a feud. That is definitely what a good Rumble can do. We love the long-term storytelling. We love the fact that it can build stuff to WrestleMania. We've seen it with the likes of Shawn Michaels, Kurt Angle previously. We've seen it with Jericho and Shawn Michaels as well. Michaels has been involved in a few of those, but yeah, it's certainly something that makes a lot of sense when it comes to Rumble matches. So certainly could be a good way to go. And we've got our last couple of comments then, and then we'll look to wrap things up. Jonesy, it says done well. It could set up it could set up or signal half of the card for WrestleMania, or at least stories for the coming month, but usually it's meaningless apart from the winner. Certainly, I mean, like you say there, we mentioned a few from the old days there, but something I'd like to see brought back in the modern day.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just personally glad that I'm going into this Rumble how I went in to watch Guardians of the Galaxy with no expectations, because I knew nothing about Guardians of the Galaxy and was blown out of my mind by it. So this, I just feel, could be exactly the same, because I'm saying Sammy to win, but my head is now going, wait a minute, Chambers in Canada, is it Toronto that it's going to be in that? And I'm like, nah, Sammy can't win this, because surely they're going to have Sammy versus Roman there. So like I said, I'm just going to go into it like that. But I just think it would just be nice to watch this Rumble, and I feel we're going to get a completely different product from what we used to get for the last 30 odd years of Royal Rumbles. I think that Triple H knows that giving away 27 entrants is a bit of a stupid thing to do. I mean, one thing I'd like them to bring back is the whole fight for the number 30 spot on the Rumble, because I think it was an interesting story that got guys on TV time. Rikishi, I remember, didn't Rikishi win it one year, many years ago? And he got the number 30 entrant at one point in the career. I just think it's just an interesting dynamic. But yeah, it's just, like Jonesy said, it's just a fun way to start off Mania season. It's like essentially this is their Christmas period. Like in our terms, it's just everything starts now and builds up to WrestleMania.
Yeah, things are about to get serious. That's basically where we're at this point. We know that what happens here could really lead strongly to what's going to happen going along in the very near future. And Don, thank you for checking out the stream there. Do you have a pick? Yeah, I mean, obviously, we've just give picks there for the men's Rumble there. Obviously, you said there for a minute ago that you said Sammy. I'll give my pick. I am going to go with Cody. That is my pick of who I think it will be. Do I want it to be? I want it to be Sammy, but I think it's going to be Cody. I'm going with head over heart. And he does also say about the women's match.
I think Cody wins if Sammy is eliminated very early on in the Rumble. Because I think if they get into the last 4 and he's eliminated and Cody wins, unless it's someone like Solo that eliminates Sammy in the final 4 and then Cody goes on to win it by beating Solo, might work like that. But I still think Sammy needs to be eliminated early to save Cody being booed out that house like Batista did when he come back.
True story there. And just quickly go over one more time, and then the pick then for the Women's Royal Rumble match there. I believe you said Rhea Ripley.
Rhea Ripley, yeah.
She's been very popular on this channel for the last couple of days, so I want to go outside the box. Although I kind of think everyone's right, I've actually gone with Becky Lynch just because I'm holding out hope that we will actually get a Becky versus Ronda match.
I would like to see someone completely left field just win the Rumble, the women's one this year, just as a complete surprise, just as a talking point to make something about the women's Rumble match unique, is to have someone that no one's expecting. I don't know, someone like Beth Phoenix win the Rumble. Do you know what I mean? Something absolutely bat crazy that just would completely make the Women's Rumble match an actual talking point of the pay-per-view.
Absolutely, indeed. There, Don's got a few comments here. Just for Jones's last question, he said he agrees it's his favorite of the year. He says he agrees with Cody's pick. He likes Bailey or Rhea for the women's, and I agree with you. Left field definitely seems like a good way to go for the women's Royal Rumble. Certainly, get a lot of people talking. We've been talking about we need to build some stars up here. That's certainly a way to do it. And perhaps does Rhea need the Rumble win? Does Becky need it? Does Bailey need it? I'm not sure. We'll have to see.
If you've got someone in NXT that wants an instant push to a main event scene, like, I don't know, Tiffany Stratton, she seems to be quite big in NXT at the minute. Tiffany Stratton comes out and wins a Rumble. Hey, why not send her on to Mania to face Bianca Belair? It's worth a shout.
NXT's never won a Royal Rumble match. That would be certainly groundbreaking if that was to happen. Jones's last one from him, and last one we're going to take then in the stream. Do you guys prefer Saturday Rumble or Sunday? Saturday is better, nice not to be able to rush watching it before work. Obviously, for me, I do prefer the Saturday Rumble as well, just purely because of the fact that it's nicer for a Sunday as well to wake up and not feel it's the start of a brand new week. I mean, that my working schedule is different to a lot of other people's, but I can work on weekends, but I do prefer it Saturdays.
Luckily for me, I don't work Mondays, but I have kids, so I have to take my kids to school. So normally I end up watching this thing live. I'll watch it live tomorrow night because I can't not watch the Rumble live. I cannot watch it back if it's already happened because I'll end up fast forwarding through it because I hate it. But for me, it was always a case of stay up, watch the Rumble, go to sleep at 4 o'clock, get back up at 7:30, take my kids to school, then go back to bed till like 2 o'clock, and then get up and go pick the kids up from school. So my whole Monday would be ruined. But now I prefer the Saturday now, just because I can go to bed and get up whenever on a Sunday, and it'll all be good.
There you go. Saturday seems to be the winner all around there. But just got to get this last comment then from Don. It says Trips is doing a great job. It will be great either way. I'm sure it will be as well. That's a big assignment and what it's been here for this here today. And Jonesy, thank you very much for saying it's been a great stream, lads. And hopes that we both enjoyed the Rumble, as we hope everybody enjoys the Rumble. Then they watch it. And I've got to say, everyone that's been watching, thank you all so much. Please do, if you've enjoyed the video, consider hitting the like button. It really does help this channel grow. It's the way that we can make it bigger each and every time that we come back to you with new content. And of course as well, subscribe if you're new to the channel as well, first time watching. Perhaps maybe you've been watching a couple before and think, should I subscribe? It's a good time now. The Royal Rumble is coming up. We're going into WrestleMania. Content is going to be coming thick and fast on this channel. I want to say a massive thank you. Firstly, NXT, you're with me right now. It's always great to
win? Did I win the Rumble?
We're going to find out in a couple of minutes. Me and you are the last two people in this Rumble. We're going to find out who is going to close off the show and finish up the stream for us. We're going to find out in a couple of minutes. Is it the journeyman from number 1 or is it the number 30? We're going to find out. But first and foremost, I want to say a big thank you to Tom COLOHUE, who spent some time on this channel here today. Irish Wrestling and Entertainment being here as well. And also Katrina within Cat We Trust, of course, being a part of as well of Women's Wrestling Talk. It's been great to have everyone here. There's been a lot of fun to do this as well. Maybe it's something we can look to do in the future. Do you like this content? Do you want to see more of additional guests being brought in like this? Do you want to see just 4 people chatting for a while as well? Let me know what you think in the comments below. And for everyone that's watching on delay, thank you all so much. But thank you very much, Don, for the kind words as well. Enjoy a great job. And he says he'll see us guys for Mania. Got another casual view. And thank you for dropping in, Don. Hope you enjoy the Royal Rumble. We'll see you for Mania. But who is the person that's going to be closing off the stream today? Who is the winner of the SCW Royal Rumble? NXSTEVE, you're the winner. Close us off.
Thanks for everyone for watching the show. Hope you have a good night. Enjoy the Rumble tomorrow, and we'll catch you very soon. Peace.